Muy buenos días. Disculpen la demora.
Good morning. Sorry for the timing.
Mi nombre es José Carrión.
My name is José Carrión.
I'm the chair of the. My name is José Carrión. I'm the chair of the Oversight
Soy
Board.
el presidente de la Junta Fiscal. Quisiera darle la bienvenida a todas las personas presentes a esta vista pública de la Junta de Supervisión Fiscal de Puerto Rico. Como de costumbre, quisiera llamar a todos los presentes para cooperar en conducir una reunión productiva, manteniendo silenciando los teléfonos en silencio y absteniéndose de comentarios y conversaciones necesarias. Tenemos los miembros de la Junta en el teléfono, ¿no? Así que quisiera hacer una llamada de asistencia a los miembros presentes. Doctor Andrew Briggs, presente. Arthur González, presente. Y profesor David Skill, presente. Hay quórum presente. Y ahora quisiera llamar a orden la reunión. Quisiera pedir, como de costumbre, al señor El Curi, nuestro consejero general, para actuar como secretario para la reunión. Gracias, sí lo haré. Gracias a todos los presentes y todos los que podrían estar viendo en vivo el live stream en el website de la Junta, www.oversight.pr.gov. Estoy complacido en decir que el audio de esta reunión vía el webcast está disponible en inglés y en una traducción simultánea en español. Si va al website en inglés, el audio será en inglés, y si va al website en español, el audio será en español. Bienvenido a todas las personas presentes en esta vista pública de la Junta Fiscal, del Departamento de Corrección y Rehabilitación y Salud Correccional. Quisiera agradecer la presencia del señor Eduardo Rivera Guanatey. Bienvenido, señor, y su equipo, y otros funcionarios públicos que puedan estar aquí y partes interesadas. Bienvenidos. Esta tarde, los siguientes asuntos son parte de nuestra agenda. Quisiéramos movernos a aprobar las minutas de nuestra vista del 13 de noviembre, seguido por asunto administrativo, y luego lidiaremos con el asunto en mano del panel del Departamento de Corrección y Rehabilitación, que estará dividido en en las medidas de estatus para el año fiscal 19 y 20 para el Departamento de Salud Correccional, y el año fiscal 19 y 20 el presupuesto, análisis del presupuesto y planes de la agencia para cumplir del año fiscal 20 al 24, medidas y para asegurarse del cumplimiento de estas medidas, al igual que del programa juvenil. Comenzaremos con la aprobación de las minutas como nuestra primera orden. De las minutas en nuestra última vista, el 13 de noviembre. Las minutas propuestas están incluidas en sus materiales de reunión, en el apéndice A. ¿Alguien tiene algunas preguntas en cuanto a estas minutas? Ya que no hay preguntas, quisiera hacer una moción para aprobar las minutas. Yo apruebo esas minutas del 13 de noviembre del 2019 presentadas. ¿Alguien quisiera secundar esa moción? Yo segundo la moción. Gracias. Entonces quisiera un voto de voz. Por favor, todos los que estén a favor que digan sí, sí. Ya que han votado a favor todos, las minutas están aprobadas. Quisiera reconocer al juez. Señor presidente, quisiera hacer la siguiente moción. Resolución: la Junta confirma y aprueba el consentimiento escrito unánime adoptado por la Junta desde la clausura de la última reunión, los cuales están listados en el apéndice B. Señor presidente, quisiera secundar esa moción. Un voto de voz, por favor, los que estén a favor digan sí, sí. Ya que todos los miembros presentes han votado a favor, la resolución ha pasado unánimemente. Señor presidente, quisiera hacer la siguiente moción. Entre la clausura de esta reunión y la apertura de la próxima, la Junta podría considerar en sesión ejecutiva cualquier de los asuntos autorizados bajo promesa, incluyendo certificaciones determinadas bajo la sección 206 de promesas y también cualquier sometido a autorizaciones autorizadas por promesa y cualquier radicación autorizada bajo el título 3 de promesa en cada caso que estén puestas adelante para el voto que conviene para dicha sesión ejecutiva. También puede la Junta, por consentimiento escrito unánime entre estas reuniones y estatutos, incluidos en transmisión electrónica. Yo quisiera secundar esa moción. Quisiera pedir un voto de voz, todos que digan sí, sí, ya que todos han votado a favor de la moción. La resolución ha sido aprobada. Ahora, si pudiera, quisiera leer un estado en español que leeré en español. Good morning. The government of Puerto Rico has important responsibility to bring services, correctional services of rehabilitation that provide safe life conditions for our confined. In that sense, the Department of Correction and Rehabilitation of Puerto Rico, DCR, has the responsibility to proportion those services with the utmost efficiency possible. As part of our commitment with the development of Puerto Rico, today we celebrate this public hearing in which we will discuss various topics to better improve the functioning of this agency so that it can provide the adequate services for the confined and operate in a more efficient way. We also look to understand the better bylaws and the initiative necessary to make of the best use for our resources for our people. This hearing will allow the public to meet the officials of the department, how they are administering the public funds and what operational changes are being implemented to achieve savings and better to discuss. The first one, we will be able to listen directly from the Department of Correction, the initiatives that are being implemented and its future plans. In the second panel, we will hear the experiences and opinions of the confined population. The Oversight Board recognizes that the DCR task is really complex and there's a lot in play. The security of our people that goes, and it's really important for the future of our island, which is why we must be available to take such drastic measures to achieve safety for Puerto Rico. At the end of this hearing, we will learn from the leaders of the DCR, as well as the related parties in the implementation of the fiscal plan of correctional health from the juvenile program and the efficiency measures necessary to achieve such success for a better Puerto Rico. We need to have present that fiscal responsibility is about where and how to use better the funds, not just how to spend more. Experience shows that overspending is not the answer. The challenges that we will discuss today and the future about the government services did not start yesterday, did not start with promise. They started way back, given how the funds were prioritized and how they were used and how the public services were offered. And we trust that efficient use of these funds will impact positively the present and future of all the Puerto Ricans in all areas of priority. Thank you very much. Ahora quisiera cambiar a la directora ejecutiva, Natalia Yaresco.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. La seguridad pública es un bien común y protegerlo es un servicio importante del gobierno. Por supuesto, quiere decir mantener a los puertorriqueños fuera de daño y asegurarse que se cumplan las leyes y se pongan en vigor para proteger a los residentes. Pero también la seguridad pública incluye que los que han violado la ley pagan su deuda con la sociedad en situaciones razonables con oportunidad de ser rehabilitados. Se lo debemos a todos los puertorriqueños, asegurar que nuestro sistema de corrección es seguro, justo y bien mantenido para los que sirven sean tratados humanamente y principalmente su posibilidad de reintegrarse a la sociedad. Esto también es seguridad pública. Porque esto es parte de la Junta Fiscal. Nuestro mandato es ayudar a Puerto Rico a lograr responsabilidad fiscal, que esa es la ley. La responsabilidad fiscal significa un presupuesto balanceado, una prioridad de gastos eficiente y también una entrega de servicios eficaz. Eso es por lo que asegurar la seguridad pública es donde esto encaja. Quiero asegurar nuestro enfoque en el tamaño correcto del gobierno es mejorar los servicios y no reducirlos. Podemos balancear el presupuesto y mejorar los servicios públicos si tenemos las prioridades correctas, hacer las decisiones correctas, dónde gastar, dónde cortar, y cómo reorganizar y cómo utilizar nuestro personal y otros recursos. A pesar de los gastos masivos en las últimas décadas, la calidad de los servicios públicos ha declinado en Puerto Rico. El gasto no necesariamente es igual a mejores servicios públicos. Y manteniendo esto en perspectiva, queremos trabajar juntos con el Departamento de Correcciones y Salud Correccional para mejor entender los esfuerzos y los planes para mejorar la seguridad pública, mejorando la eficacia operacional y la sustentabilidad fiscal del sistema correccional de Puerto Rico. La necesidad de mejorar es obvia desde la perspectiva del tamaño correcto y desde el lado operacional. El sistema de prisiones de Puerto Rico necesita reformas. La Junta visitó las facilidades correccionales en Bayamón y Aguadilla para conducir unas inspecciones y ver las facilidades, incluso las celdas, la cocina, el área de comida, la laundry, seguridad, comisaría, el área de armas y las condiciones para los reos. Hemos visto hay una necesidad grande de mantenimiento y reparaciones, no tienen unidades de aire que no funcionan, elevadores que no funcionan, mecanismos de DCR que no funcionan en algunas de las áreas de residencias, también situaciones de trabajo para oficiales y no oficiales que son deplorables. Las cámaras solamente funcionaban en una de las instituciones y no eran operacionales. Muchas áreas de observación tienen poca visibilidad y el circuito cerrado en una institución fuerza y requiere que tengan más personal con muy poca visibilidad. Requiere horas extras y exige más recursos de lo que de otra manera se necesitaría. La Junta Fiscal está trabajando con el departamento para entender mejor las necesidades actuales y cuáles son las acciones para poder cumplir con el plan fiscal para el año fiscal actual y los próximos. En cuanto a la reforma del departamento, estaremos discutiendo esto y esperemos tener una discusión más clara durante el día de hoy. Ahora quisiera dar la bienvenida a Rivera Juanatey y a su personal para comenzar con su panel. Por favor, acérquense. Y gracias por estar. Vamos a discutir 3 tópicos y cada uno va a tener 15 minutos para presentar. Por favor, les voy a pedir, entiendo que necesitan un poco más de tiempo que los 15 minutos que se están permitiendo, que necesitan más tiempo. Está bien con nosotros. Estamos alegres que esté aquí, pero le pedimos a los panelistas, por favor, que traten de mantenerse en el tiempo adjudicado para que todo el mundo pueda expresarse y entonces tengamos tiempo para hacer preguntas. Tenemos muchos tópicos que cubrir, así que tenemos que limitar el tiempo. Vamos a tocar una campana. ¿Hay una campana? Vamos a tocar una campana una vez cuando quede 1 minuto. Por favor, preste atención a la campana. Y 2, cuando se acabe el tiempo. Vamos a pedirle a la señora Yaresco que nos dé un poco de contexto. Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Vamos a estar viendo el análisis del presupuesto actual para el 2019 y 2020 y la responsabilidad fiscal, como hablé anteriormente, de usar eficazmente estos fondos. Es tomar las decisiones difíciles, dónde contar los gastos y dónde invertir, cómo reorganizar y cómo entregar los servicios. Todas las agencias tienen que mejorar sus servicios que ofrecen mientras están gastando dentro de su presupuesto. El departamento concluyó el último año fiscal 2019 gastando menos de sus presupuestos en cuanto a personal y gastos operacionales, pero proyecta un déficit para el año fiscal actual 2020. Hoy vamos a ver por qué quizás y cómo mejorar la responsabilidad fiscal e valorar las necesidades reales del departamento. En el último año fiscal dejó 10.3 millones de sus 34 millones del Fondo General sin gastar. En gastos dejaron 3 millones sin utilizar de un fondo especial que no se gastó. En regional salud correccional, de su presupuesto de 56 millones, no gastaron 1.3 millones. De ese no uso de dineros, 8.8 millones vinieron de nómina, 1.5 de gastos operacionales en el departamento. El departamento de salud correccional, ese gasto no usado fue mayormente en nómina. En el 2020 hasta ahora, en octubre de este año fiscal, ha gastado más, en los 4 meses ha gastado 3 millones por encima de su presupuesto, pero el fondo de ganancias especiales está poco utilizado, bajo 3%, 12%, $350,000. Lo que ha ocurrido en el departamento, el gasto extra es por los gastos de operaciones, que son 4 millones o 10% más alto de los presupuestados. Afectó este sobregasto, afectó la parte de no gastar dinero de sus mejoras fiscales. Esperamos ver por qué están utilizándose por debajo de los presupuestados. Los gastos operacionales no están gastándose como se deben. Y para el resto del año fiscal se proyecta que van a gastar 26 millones u 8% más de los presupuestados. Salud correccional, que va a gastar 8.9 millones más o 20% más de los presupuestados. Y este déficit y este sobregasto se impulsa por la nómina de algunos 12 millones de dólares, al igual que 15 millones que están proyectados en sobregasto en gastos operacionales. Igualmente, en salud correccional, es todo en nómina y gastos operacionales también. Muchas gracias, señora Eresco. Y quisiera preguntarle al secretario para que comiencen a comentar sobre el plan fiscal para el año fiscal 19 y 20. Si pudiese, secretario, y que el personal se presente para el récord. Y bienvenidos. Good morning to all, Mr. President and other members of the board, as well the executive director. I thank the opportunity to be here to expose publicly the situation we're facing. Appear before you, Eduardo Rivera Juanate, Secretary of the Correctional Department Rehabilitation, appointed last September 14, 2019, and confirmed in October 15, 2019, about our position about the fiscal plan for the Governor of Puerto Rico and our agency, and submit many recommendations that we consider should be taken into consideration in the fair context with respect to the fiscal plan. Now, I would like my staff to introduce themselves. Good morning, Counsel Aileen Perez Herrero, in case of the juvenile case. Maria León Rodriguez, Secretary for Budget and Finance. Barbara Mendez, representing Correctional Health. Alessio Torres, Program and Services. Good morning to all. Juan Antonio Rosario Pagan, Coordinator of the Department. Mr. President, before starting with the presentation, I would like to give an introduction to put into context what we're going to be presenting. The Department of Correction and Rehabilitation has suffered transformation during the past years. Currently, we have 5 agencies that before operated independently with their own personnel and budget. In this sense, our mission is not only to be the custodians of the inmates and the juvenile population in different institutions, but we have the duty to rehabilitate them so they can be reinserted into society. The Constitution of Puerto Rico acknowledges and demands that we should offer our participants adequate treatment to make possible the moral and social rehabilitation. The rehabilitation is done through 13 services and 76 programs in order to foster a behavior that goes along with the institutional practices and good cohabitation, so people can go back to the free community as respectful citizens. If we don't provide the due rehabilitation, it will go against the state itself, because people will be exposed to coming back to jail. Since they are not related, they will be tied up with the criminal world again. We cannot see the system as just a jail system only for violators of the law. Well, there are fulfilling their sentence, like in other institutions in the unions. In other states, the services they offer, it's done by other entities. This is not our case. Sometimes people don't acknowledge that we also offer services to our inmates, but also the rehabilitation process, the supervision of those who are in the free community, even though they are under parole, but they are under our supervision. Also, we offer services to those who are processed criminally, even though before they are found guilty. And as opposed to other jurisdictions, we're responsible to be the custodian to rehab the juvenile population. We have to establish that our institution offers population before, during, and after they were in jail. When we have the privilege to continue completing their sentence outside of the institution, like, for example, the juvenile, with all the responsibilities that it entails, our institution has a great challenge that may cause that in order to implement the fiscal plan as approved, its main function may be cut off, which is a custodian of the rehabilitation of the inmate and to have the best resources. And it is besides all the multiple initiatives to save money. In 2020, we see that there will be a substantial deficit of $31.1 million, of which 8.4 million are only for correctional health. This is why our department currently lacks the resources, human resources, to offer the services for which we're supposed to conduct. We're exposing our personnel and the inmates. They have really health and safety issues. This difference in budget for the fiscal plan and the cuts based sometimes on the wrong information, it has affected situations like the food for the inmates, which is a very important element and that we must point out and the board must take into consideration in this process. Since October, our institution has not been able to pay the supplier for food due to the lack of liquidity. As of November 5th, we owe them $4.5 million to our supplier, who so far has interrupted the services. So the board must be careful when they allocate the funds for such essential services and to avoid consolidating with other items. With respect to health program, it offers medical services, dental services, and mental health to all the adults and juveniles and youth who are part of the system in compliance with the case Morales Feliciano. The cut to our program has reduced our personnel that offer critical care for the population, which can affect the parameters established in the federal case. And it is like for our institution, the fiscal plan used by the board, the benchmarks used by the board have the wrong premises. It indicates that $3,800 per inmate, it's what is spent in the States. This used the PO Charity Trust in 2014, but the reality is that benchmark should be adjusted to the comparative data for the same agency in 2017, in which established $5,700 per inmate. With respect to the infrastructure, given the conditions that we find it, we have to invest the CAPEX programs that were allocated to us to improve the current facilities are occupied, which is not enough to also correct the deficiencies of those who are not being used for structural problems. An allocation of CAPEX, like in our institution, is barely enough to have the usual maintenance, which doesn't increase the habitable spaces. With respect to the benchmarks used for the allocation of funds, the board points out in the fiscal plan that the number combined for the institution is substantially higher when comparative to prison system in the United States. In mainland, we have to clarify to conclude that you took into consideration the total number of our employees, officers and civil employees versus only the inmates that are confined. You didn't take into consideration all the other people that are being under judgment, to whom we also offer services. In his estimate, the fiscal plan shows that we serve 10,300 inmates, when the reality is that our institution offers services to an approximate of 15,800 persons, which is divided 9,031 for adults, 6,700 for services to people who are in the free community but complying with their sentence, and then the juvenile. Our institution has 620 employees in other its programs to serve the population of 15,800 inmates or participants. The population, it's 0.83 employees per participant and not 0.76, as this was wrongly stated in the plan. It was calculated only for employees versus internal inmates, which duplicated the average. It is evident that our average is underneath 0.41 as appointed in the plan as a comparative. Once we clarify that, the board
should not use the benchmarks with such reference marks in the fiscal plan, and it must readjust them to our actual situation. It is only like this that we'll be in the position to accomplish such plan of the complexity of the agency that we administer. The board, previous to any exercise with the accomplishment of the fiscal plan, must have clear that this is not our only function to take care of the inmate, but also to rehabilitate all the transgressors that are adults and juveniles so that they can be reinserted into society, just as supervise those who are in the community. Having said the fiscal plan, instead of pretending that the DSR should reduce its personnel to achieve the numbers, we must recognize that we are under the adequate number of officials to guarantee the safety and the accomplishment of our functions in the system, so that we can insist in this incorrect premise as a nefarious result of stabilizing the correctional system of Puerto Rico. And we also have, by error, the fiscal plan that the potential of occupation of our correctional institutions is being underutilized, signaling that it's at 78% of its capacity, when in the rest of the nation, the optimum average is almost 100. Based on this, the plan establishes that it is needed to close 9 institutions to achieve a system, 39% system of utilization. So we must know that the actual is casually of 93%, our actual, after having allocated. It's also important to take into consideration that the DSR must have the adequate capacity to attend the variations of the inmates. As you already know, the level of inmates in a society is determined by external factors to our inmate system, principally demographic factors, criminal incidents, versus jurisdictions that can take care of the topic with flexibility. The condition of the island in which we live, it is not enough to take care of such increase in population. So, Mr. President and the rest of the board, it is our interest to take care of this in a simple and detailed way, all the aspects that you must consider, so that we can realize a revision of the fiscal plan in terms of the DSR, with the finality to not affect our custody system negatively, supervision community, rehabilitation, and SERP on health services. So, Mr. President, if you allow me to start with the exposition of the presentation, go ahead. As I said in my previous presentation, the DSR, we have the responsibility, the custodial responsibility of adults in our institution and supervise the participants in the community and the juvenile community as well. In other places, this is taken care by other agencies. As you can see of the inmates, the utilization of our facilities, it is a maximum capacity of 93%. They consist principally of facilities which their spaces are not interchangeable, such as juvenile and adult facilities, as well as women's facilities. The spaces for these facilities cannot be used to take care of the adult male population. I'm going to go a little bit fast. I didn't know that you were counting on time. Here in this slide, we can see that we have the responsibility that even though of the implemented initiatives in the process of implementation, our projections reflect that for the fiscal year 20, we will close with an efficiency budget of 3 million, including the main measures implemented include the consolidation of facilities, relocalization of personnel, and renegotiation of service contracts. In the DSR, we have been in the constant search for maximum efficiency in the public funds. Nonetheless, this graph shows how, when we analyze the metric indicators by the board for the determination of goals, we see that there is no consistency nor consonance with the operation of the DSR. The spending on is 40,000 a year, and this doesn't take into consideration, as I already said, the population in the community, and the juveniles. So it is not correct. The ratio does not take into consideration any of these populations, but it uses the total amount of employees in the agency, which is a 0.76%, when really it's 0.39% in terms of the utilization of facilities used by the board. It combines all the spaces of the facilities, when the reality is that the institution have special uses and not all the spaces are interchangeable. In the case of the adult population, which is 74% of our population, the actual current population is 30%, which leaves more space for the consolidation of facilities. In addition to this challenge, the DSR also has other operational problems, such as limitations in technology and challenges in the stipulation of juvenile cases, and severe limitations in staff in all the main technical, social panels, social workers, and other specialized tasks, without talking about the really low wages that our officials receive in comparison with the police, even though they're working with really huge stressors, which increases our attrition. In terms of the correctional health, in the beginning of the year 2019, under the new contract of October 2018, we achieved a reduction of $4 million. Besides, we also added something that would be added to juvenile population, and the services are principally stipulated in the Morales Feliciano case, which are under the medical and healthcare plan. As I already said, the contract adjudicated by the end of 2018 achieved savings of over $4.4 million in the plan. In the fiscal plan, we estimate that the part of the health of the correctional department will be of $8.4 million. In terms of the fiscal implementation of such fiscal plan, we start by detailing that the level of population by the DSR is affected mainly by external factors to the agency, mainly by the evolution of the composition and the legislation that is each time more severe. This graph, you can see this in this graph, including the segments of the inmate population in juvenile facilities, and these three segments have showed a decrease since 2014, as well as with the employees of the DSR employees, which have gone down with the population. So the ratio has been constant, as you can see in the last cap. In terms of the efficiencies not related to the personnel through consolidations, we establish here how the DSR has been proactive in maximizing the utilization of facilities during the last few years with the reduction of the correctional population in juvenile facilities. We have used facilities looking for efficiency in their use, as we can see in this slide. Under the levels of occupation, the adult inmates, we don't anticipate in the near future the possibility to achieve such closings of other facilities. We can see here how in the institutions that don't have inmates, there are 5 without use, but of these 3 are sections under correctional complex that are being utilized. The other are being used for administrative affairs, which cannot be considered as closed in all. So we have been occupying private buildings to use these public places. There is no space to achieve such goals so that they can be such would reduce the safety of the inmates. Under these consolidations, we have the DSR. We are in a complicated situation that results in a complex. We don't have too much space, available space, and we must have had to maintain some inmates in English centers while we look for a space for them. Such housing cannot be seen just in numbers, but also in the custody that it's been classified as, to which it can belong to without relating with others for their safety, so that always in a correctional service, we need the right spaces to perform emergency practices, such as atmospheric problems, among others. Efficiencies through the acquisition processes. In terms of this point, the DSR is being implementing strategies for savings, and it varies in terms of spending, as we can see on this slide. But it is also important that these initiatives will have good results at the long term. As we can see on the graph, a substantial spending is the power and water utilities, which is 41% of the operational costs of the agency. And such with the age of the structures and services, but we are renegotiating the hiring of services where there are opportunities to achieve savings in order to reduce the prices that today we're paying for some services. In terms of the hiring, we have reduced substantially the minimum necessary for the contracts that we have subscribed. So we can see a 51% reduction in this graph in comparison to last year. And there are some efficiencies in the maximization of personnel. As I said earlier, we lack of personnel, but it has not been based in a restructuration, in an organized restructuration. The conditions of work and compensation of our employees challenge the retention of them, particularly in such high-risk roles, such as the officials and juvenile roles. So they work on 16-hour shifts under imminent. They cannot be vacant. The salaries and benefits offered to our personnel are significantly less than those offered in other jurisdictions. For example, in correctional officials and juvenile services, the salaries and benefits are in the $29,000 a year, while others compared to $40,000 and $45,000 yearly in other institutions. We have seen that we need, and we are committed to improving our management of personnel and the information available to make such decisions. So the last 14 and 15 of November, we realized on hearing, and the results reflected the need to update their data of over 3,000 transactions The update has been completed in the roster of personnel, and we still need the Chronos and room data. And we hope that these two will be completed by the end of March 2020 to give it continuity and we want to update the Chronos system. But the hearing saw that the numbers are basically the correct ones. Only 25 checks were intervened, and of those 25, 6 have been canceled and have started a process of underpayment.
Undue payment. The review of the personnel has been a reorganization, orderly reorganization for the required personnel to go through the duty of our institution. We have made an assessment of our needs in the different institutions in compliance with the roster management or the master roster. This analysis takes into consideration the positions and schedule of each institution and the amount of people needed to cover those positions. We're having an academy for training of 500 officers. Our institution wants to meet its official needs, having an additional academy for 2021 and the remaining 399 for 2022, with expectation to keep officers in, not keeping them in double shifts, and eliminate and reduce to the minimum the payment of extra time. In addition to the correctional officers mentioned before, to comply with its obligations, operational and constitutional obligations pursuant to Morales Feliciano case, we're hiring other additional personnel that have been analyzed, but I'll focus on the most critical ones, which is 28 technicians for socio-penal services to reach the number agreed by the case, 60 case per per officer, civil officer. For rehabilitation and services, I'll leave you with Alex Joel Torres to speak a little more on those two. Good morning to all. Good morning to all. In summary, we divided our office in programs and services. The programs offered currently are food, Protestant services, Catholic services, and other services, religious services, medical services, penal record, recreational services, social penal services, library, visit of relatives, accounting, laundry, and services for clothing. With respect to the programs, we have 73 programs which are divided in 4 phases: education and vocational. These are academic courses, vocational courses, and certifications. With respect to academic courses, it's from first to high school through senior year. You go to a barbershop, certifications such as woodwork, carpentry, as it was done with the Association of Carpentry in the United States, behavior correction, control your impulses, anger control, remedies for women, and also in reintegration we have how to go back to society with different non-profit organizations. They have courses how to live without violence, and with respect to transition into work, brigades, landscape brigades, maintenance brigades, and a project that we have in Arecibo that is called Network, which is the collecting of trash. They have the liberty to go and work for the municipality of Arecibo. In total, we've used in programs and services 1,040 officers to offer those services and programs, and civil employees, we use 987 employees. Mr. President, we have 20 seconds. I think if you allow us 3 additional minutes for the juvenile division, you can also make some statement. Each person has more time. What happened is that they included juvenile services because we thought we had 5 minutes for the introduction, and the introduction was included in the 25. If you allowed 5 minutes for the juvenile institutions, we'll have enough. Thank you very much. Arlene. Good morning. Since 1994, the Department of Corrections and the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico defined litigation for juvenile institutions. It includes claims about violations of Universal Litigation Reform Act, Civil Rights of Institutional Persons Act, American with Disabilities Act, Individuals with Disabilities Act. Through the years, Correction has had 11 institutions with 1,400 juveniles. We have 2 institutions with 105 juveniles. Since 2014, the Department of Correction has had a reduction in juvenile population of 73%. From last year to this year, we've had a 10% reduction. The nature of the juvenile population requires services, a variety of services, and very discrete classifications. We take care of male and female and even girls. We have a residential unit for mental health that requires specialized services for the population. The juvenile population has a ranking 14 to 19 years, an average of 17 years old. 96% they have addiction problems or alcohol problems, which requires that we provide them more services. 98% of the juvenile population have been 1 to 5 times in the system before. 60% of our youngsters don't have a high school diploma. Therefore, we have to offer the services for the GED and also the American with Disabilities Act, an idea. Due to the nature of our population, the ages, and the variety of services that they need, such as health services, counseling for addiction, recreation, social work, among others. We have 5 levels of custody, from level 2 to 5, depending on the services that the youngsters require. The unit for residential treatment is the only one that offers, is the only one of its kind in Puerto Rico. It's specialized for these youngsters, for these offenders, and it's specialized for the health services. Last year, we had the juvenile case. The court has made some claims with respect to the services offered directly, since we are in a 40% of double shifts, and that's not sustainable. With Correction, we did an assessment about the amount of officers needed. We need 1 officer per 8 juvenile youngsters, and we have need of 86 officers. At the moment, Correction has 428 officers for juvenile services. 23 are in extended leave. 135 officers are providing services for adults, of which we've recovered some of them, so they would go to the juvenile institutions. But these officials that are in the adult institutions are providing services. They were in the closed institutions in Macau and Bayamon. In order to comply with the needs of Correction, has identified funds, its own funds, to recruit an academy of 50 officers that would start probably in January. This is to provide services to youngsters as required, not only the stipulations of the case, but also the federal legislation. The facilities for the juvenile institutions, they were built in the 1990s, and they were affected by the different hurricanes, by Irma and Maria too, which require an investment in facilities of around $700,000, and next year there will be additional repairs. Yes. Mr. President, I would like to have 30 seconds. The complexity of the administration system for the juvenile system, it's because of the classifications that we have, which is around 10 classifications. They have to have their own space. Classifications cannot be mixed. Even though if I have only one girl, we have to have a model exclusively for her because it cannot be mixed with others. Preguntas. ¿Tenemos tiempo para preguntas ahora? Thank you very much, Secretary. Help me understand a little bit, in essence, if we can conclude that what you're stating here is that we are comparing two very different elements using the wrong benchmark, performing a plan that you understand it's not fair based on the work that you do. Help me understand. Tell me, what do you do that is different to other state correction system? And then afterwards, with what colleague or with what national, with what jurisdiction do you talk to in order to get some assessment or in order to understand of best practices to improve the particular situation of the department? Basically, the comparison I make, it's with respect to the studies made. How do institutions work in some states of the United States where not necessarily the Department of Corrections as department uses its budget for supervise those who are outside of the institution fulfilling their sentence. In Florida, do they do it? Do they? Other agencies, the Department of Justice does that in the States. So you do more. We unite in one agency a series of services that are provided by different agencies in other states with different heads and different budgets. With whom do you meet periodically? The commissioners, you meet nationally? I've been in the position for 3 months. So there are some meetings annually where all the secretaries meet in the United States. The next meeting is where I will be participating in January 2020. I don't have the information, but yes, we do have meetings. I've read about the correctional system at the national level, and also the consultants we have, they've been instructed, so we can state what we have stated here. And in the past, to whom do you compare when you make management decisions? In what sense? What do you refer to? What other agency, national, from other jurisdictions, with whom do you compare? Do we look like? Should we improve certain things since we're learning what they do? What other jurisdiction do you use as a parameter, as a guide? There is no such comparison. It is so complex, our system, that no state, as per our consultants and our study, our system is unique. The Department of Correction has different populations, different services that in the States, they're offered either the sheriffs, the county jails, the Department of Justice, and the Department of Family, because the juvenile is under the Department of Family in the States. Department of Justice supervises those who are not in jail, but they are pursuing their completing their sentence. Usually, they're not part of the Department of Correction. ¿Tienen alguna pregunta? Yo tengo una pregunta o una clarificación sobre las facilidades cerradas. ¿Puede clarificar cuántas facilidades han cerrado y cuáles han sido las economías de esos cierres? What happens is we have closed 13 facilities since 2011. These 13 facilities, we cannot say that they're really been shut down or totally shut down. It's a movement of inmates from these facilities to consolidate them in other facilities where they're operating, because it is not a total shutdown. 8 of them, as of today, we removed all the inmates. They were put in other institutions. What we did is we are using them for administrative purposes, like storage that we had before, like community programs. that are supervised, the people who are completing their sentence outside of the institution. This series of programs before, we used to pay a rent for it in private buildings. Once we remove the inmates, what we've done, it's in those 8 facilities, it's move out from those private buildings all the administrative tasks to put it in our own buildings. That's why there is not a real saving on that matter. Something I have to clarify also. We move inmates, but the inmates are moved. The savings of the inmates is not going to be seen because they still eat. Even though they move to another facility, you have to provide the services that my associate just mentioned. The savings is when you remove inmates from one facility, it's only operational for utilities. But those savings, we have not seen them because it has been reused, the facilities. There should be a savings with respect to community programs because we're not paying for the leasing of buildings. The other 5, because I mentioned 8, 3 are empty right now, but how can I explain it? There are 3 facilities that are within other complexes. Usually they have they have like 5 facilities. Many of these accounts are connected for the utilities. I don't necessarily can quantify what's the saving because they all go to the same bill. I don't know if you understand. Quiero dar un poco de seguimiento presumo que ustedes podrían mostrar el alquiler que se economizó como resultado de utilizar sus propios edificios en oposición a los edificios privados. Ahí tiene que haber algo medible que se puede medir. The information has been provided in the implementation programs that were discussed monthly. I'm informed. La pregunta es, ¿cuánto se economizaron en alquiler? ¿Cuántos contratos, por cuánto dinero fueron cancelados al volver a las facilidades que se iban a cerrar? No tenemos información. ¿Cuánto se ahorraron anualmente? If I understand correctly, after 8 facilities being closed, 3 previously to 2008, 5 afterwards, the data, it shows that there are no savings. But the questions I understood is, what savings with respect to the leasing? Because the data we have, it says we don't have any savings. If you have it, can you provide it to us?
We will provide it to you if you allow me to do so tomorrow. But the data is there, but it's not quantified right now. Y una última parte de esto, de todos estos edificios, 3, ¿cuál es su plan en términos de literalmente cerrarlos completamente? ¿Eso será algo posible en el futuro o solo se van a usar continuamente para alguna función? There is one of them that precisely because it's isolated, it's not under a correctional facility, which is the one in Humacao. It was one that was closed for the juvenile services after Hurricane Maria, which has suffered such damages that to put it in such conditions, we need to invest millions that we don't have, as you already know. So what we did, we consolidated in the South region all the juveniles, which had given us some problems in personal, which I will explain later on. But that one in Humacao, we are in plans to dispose of it through an FF procedure. One, Humacao. Because precisely I understood. We understand. Yo tengo una pregunta diferente y es nuestra investigación sugirió que no hay cámaras de las cuales se pueden hablar, que estaban bien retrasadas en cuanto a la tecnología, ¿podría decir algo sobre lo que está pasando ahí? Esos gastos se van a usar para ello, se va a mejorar cuando es la línea de tiempo. Of course, I accept the premise. Right now, we in the both juvenile institutions we have working cameras, and I will explain later on during the presentation where we investing all the funds of capex. The cameras are not one of them. They are right now in a auction process, an auction process that it is being ventilated and has been given to Administration of General Services to please run that auction due to its complexity. It is in plans, and is it in the identified funds? That is part of the 20 of the 19 million or so that are already in the plan. No. The demo is Feliciano. For such fines, there are some reserve funds exclusively for what it will be what will be given in the court with the lawyers of Feliciano. And those funds must be invested in extra wide project because they benefit the correctional facility. And in that, there has been an agreement with the lawyer of Morales Felicianos that we are going to separate $8 million for that project, that auction project that is running right now, to be able to install video surveillance in the institution. So you have 20, in essence, you have 20 million extra for capex. Now, because I depend on those 20 million, I depend on what the lawyer of Morales Feliciano determines whether he accepts it or not for that project. Tenemos, ¿cuál es? Estaba capex, 20 millones, no, 19, 20 millones esencialmente, sí, para ellos, para invertir en la infraestructura, en las prisiones, correcto. En este año, en el presupuesto de este año, sí. Está hablando de que las cámaras no vendrían de ese presupuesto, sino que vendrían del caso Morales Feliciano, que es otro asunto. Puede venir de ese presupuesto, no hay razón por la cual no puede. Sí, así que hay 28 para mejoras en las prisiones, ¿correcto? Sí. Y la va a utilizar. Will you use them? Will you implement that? Yes, and I will explain it. I have a whole slide that explains how we're going to use it. ¿Algunas preguntas adicionales? Gracias, señor secretario. En su presentación, detalló la reducción de empleados al pasar del tiempo. ¿Nos podría decir si esa reducción se cumplió en parte por incentivos de jubilación temprana? De retiro de empleado temprano? Could you clarify the question, please? If the amount of employees has been, how did you achieve that reduction of employees? And if an integral element of that reduction was to incentivize the early retirement of those employees? Correct. We experimented 3 phases, if I'm not mistaken, of the voluntary transitional program, and we applied a retirement plan of the public servants official. So that affected and affects the provision of services. If it could have been in my hands, I would have tried for those programs to be limited in a major way, because a lot of those employees that have retired through those incentive mechanisms after making the analysis are totally necessary under the system to provide the adequate services. If we have a situation, an aggravated situation, the exit of such employees indisputably has complicated the scenario for us. But yes, there has been, because that was a public policy and the reduction of personnel. But our Department of Correction cannot be tried as just another department. We have people that are confined, our inmates that need our services, undisputably, whatever happens in comparison to other government programs. So yes, those incentives were given, and yes, there was a reduction of personnel due to them. La razón por la que le pregunto es porque hay también una propuesta para tener prácticamente unos cuantos miles de cadetes en el sistema y eso me choca como no productivo si le estamos dando incentivos para motivar a los empleados a retirarse antes de tiempo. Así que le está pagando a 2 empleados por el mismo trabajo. So, to clarify, it's not over 2,000, it's 2,000, over 1,500. And another thing, these programs of voluntary transition were excluded to the correctional officers in this program. They were applied to supervisors, which are the sergeants, tenants, captains. They were given to them, but to correctional officials, no, they weren't applying to them. They were excluded because we could see the scenario in which we are today. But the civil employees and the supervisors in the system of ranking, it was applied. Ya veo, gracias. Muchas gracias. Deberíamos continuar. So we'll move on. We'll continue with the presentation. Yes, we're going to the part of the budget. Oh, yes. We're going to the budget. I'm sorry, Secretary. If you're going to that, we're going to frame the subject, if you allow me. Yes. Señora Jerezco, quisiera, si pudiera, proveer un contexto para el segundo tema que estaremos discutiendo en la agenda, que es el presupuesto, el análisis para el año fiscal 19-20. Gracias, señor presidente. Para clarificar, hay muchos números moviéndose en periodos, así que intentaré ser clara en de qué periodo estamos hablando para esos números que está proveyendo. Hablamos de la clausura de prisiones en el plan fiscal del año fiscal 18 y el requisito fue de 9 del primer año fiscal. Cuando habla de 13 está hablando en los últimos 10 años antes del plan fiscal y esa es la base, el principio del documento es 2018 y desde entonces teóricamente ha cerrado 5 de las 9 que se supone que se hubieran cerrado. Entiendo que han cerrado 13 en los últimos 10 años, pero no es en el mismo periodo. Y desde cuando comenzamos la medida está en la base del plan fiscal. Así que estamos hablando de cerrar 5 desde el plan fiscal, año fiscal 18, y muchas se están usando, como menciono, para otros propósitos. Pero sí, el plan sí lo tiene, sí lo refleja que está logrando dichos ahorros, pero quisiéramos saber, además de la renta, se supone que haya otros. Así que si la renta es menos que los ahorros que se supone que lograra en agua y luz, administración, no en los oficiales correccionales, porque entendemos que cuando mueve los confinados, mueve a esos oficiales. No está en los cálculos eso, pero se supone que haya un ahorro que sea de agua, luz, del equipo, que sea más de mudar a las personas, no solamente el confinado y el oficial. Si la renta es menos de lo que hubiera logrado, pues entonces tomamos la decisión incorrecta. Si es mayor el ahorro, pues muy bien, pero no hemos visto eso reflejado en el presupuesto y eso le ha limitado su habilidad para cumplir lo que tiene que cumplir con los fondos que quedan en el presupuesto, porque los ahorros están siendo presumidos. Hay otro elemento que el 13% de las prisiones, del espacio de las prisiones, no se puede hospedar. Y la meta es de usar los capitales de una de dos maneras, ya sea en cámaras de seguridad y la segunda es para que ese espacio sea hospedado. Así que la meta es usar los recursos limitados que tiene para aumentar ese espacio para los prisioneros. Y al hacer eso podría tener espacio adicional y facilidades cerradas en otros lugares y usar más del espacio de las facilidades que están abiertas para ser hospedadas. Así que no tenemos un reporte de implementación de cuánto espacio que no se puede hospedar ha sido mejorado para poder consolidarlo y usarlo de manera eficiente. No quiero continuar con otras razones, porque estamos usándolo a otras bases, pero para clarificar a esos que están escuchando, la razón que la Junta está usando es simplemente para 2 servicios, la población especializada y la de adultos. No estamos hablando de otros empleados y otros trabajos de que usted llama de comunidad. Y ahora mismo está alrededor de esa razón, antes de añadir otros oficiales. oficiales de corrección. También hay otras deficiencias identificadas, así que simplemente ahorrar para cambiar de contratos o mover esos contratos a la GSA es una gran parte del plan fiscal y no hemos visto ningunos ahorros de compras que se han traducido al presupuesto. Sí vemos y queremos aplaudir a la audiencia por cumplir con la reducción del presupuesto en los últimos años, pero la agencia lo que ha pedido para $8.9 millones en fondos adicionales para cubrir más de los gastos nos preocupa en cuanto a cambios incrementales están ocurriendo por ineficiencia. Esos cambios ocurren sobre varios años, no en un año, pero necesita hacer esos cambios de ineficiencia y esos procesos para poder cumplir con el presupuesto el próximo año. Así que el año fiscal 21 ya presume que varias cosas pasaron este año para que el próximo año pueda mostrar esos ahorros. Así que debemos continuar con ese progreso que vimos en el 19 para poder cumplir con las metas del 21. Gracias, señora Yaresco.
Podemos discutir el asunto del presupuesto ahora. Con el presupuesto certificado para el 2019, Fondo General, ganancias especiales, análisis de fondos para el año y también para el 2020, el primer trimestre, para hacer un informe y después tendremos preguntas. Sí, por supuesto, María lo va a hacer. Once again, good morning. I'll start reporting about the budget for 2019. The agency received a general fund an amount of $390.2 million, and after the transfers, we had a just budget, $322.1. The expense for 2019, $313.12. That was the largest expense in the payroll, for $231.2 million, of which 15.6 are for extra time. The budget included 15 millions for contracts for administration of health services and also 1,250,000 for the monitoring for domestic violence. Monitoring devices. It is important that the fiscal year we had savings for 4.1 million in the contract for the management of the health services, 1.3 million monthly. It went to 948,000 monthly. We also received an allocation of 250,000 of permanent improvements for elevators for Ponce National. After fiscal year 2019, as of July 2nd, we received 7 million to pay the bills that were owed for 2019 for food services. That was around 4.2 million. Also invoices for Hogar Creative Challenge, which are nonprofits that are help the system. We owed $1 million. We paying per diem, monitoring devices, and 1 million is emergency services that were offered, and we didn't have the funds. With respect to our own income revenue for 2018, I would like to report that the agency has a total of 20 accounts of revenues. 7 are for stores or commissaries in the correctional system. Ponce Store, Guayama, Mayagüez, Zarzal, Arecibo, and Guadilla, and the other accounts. Administrative and the contract with the EBS Marshall, public telephones, social hydrophonic system, arts and craft, license plates, social security, training, monitoring devices, recycling, and funds for the minors. For the fiscal year 2019, we received the approval of 7.2 million in an estimate of income or revenues. For May 2019, the board authorized to increase the estimate for the revenue to 7 millions, additional millions. Therefore, it was authorized for the fiscal year 2019 an estimated income or revenue for 5.09 millions. We received millions for 13 millions. 952,000, and right now we have in the system, PRIFA system, $101,000. We had a total expense of 11.45 millions, and right now we have a balance of 2.8 millions. With respect to these accounts, we have requested before that the same be revolving in our request. It's very valid, and it is due that when a new fiscal year starts, the store accounts are very affected because they start in zero, and we don't have a budget to start doing the purchase, the procurement for the inventory in the stores. We've had to go to the general fund to provide and supply the stores, but we don't have enough supplies, and we face a problem that the inmates, they file complaints because when they do the list for shopping, we cannot sell them all the articles because we don't have them. I want to clarify that after using the general funds for the stores, I do correction of expenses or adjustments. Another reason that we request that these funds be recurring or revolving is that we have the accounts also for monitoring devices. The revenue that we have there, it's a payment for leasing for the monitoring devices for those offenders. And at the moment that they are released, they are declared not guilty, we have to return the money. And also the account with the minors who it is deposited, the money is deposited there for the jobs they do, and when they leave the system, we have to return it to them, disperse them. Also, we have programs such as networks, hydroponics, and arts and crafts that require funds for the payroll, for the inmates who work there, and also to buy the material. For example, network project, which payroll for June is paid in July, and sometimes we don't have the funds because we start in zero. So we request that it is considered or evaluated. So our own revenues are revolving. That with respect to a summary for 2019, there is an important detail for 2019. There was a surplus of 8.8 millions because 6.3 millions were for the liquidation for the pre-retirement and PTV. The program was not approved for that fiscal year. It was approved for this year, due on August. Also, the academy was approved for May, and it is required at least 2 months to be able to have the process of recruitment. Therefore, the academy was not done, was not performed. How much is, how much is the academy? Right now, if we talk about 500 officers, in the plan was 260, 250, 260. It is an academy of 500 because installation, the facility where they train, it has to be 250 because it's a capacity. It's 250 and 250. For the purposes of the budget, it's going to be 500. 500 in this budget, 250 in December, and 250 in March. How much is academy? It depends on the number for the 500. For this academy, for December to June, it's going to be 6,529,000. And pre-retirement, it's 6 million, according to what you said. That was in liquidations that they were going to be paid once they adopted the program. And another percentage minimum, it's for procurement, purchase orders that were canceled or they were not delivered in its totality. clarification. The description Maria made, it respected that we didn't use $10 million. She's trying to clarify it was 8.8 millions that were obligated. When it goes from one fiscal year to another, there were those problems. But I would not like to people to be understood that despite the deficit we have, that we didn't invest those 8.8 millions because they were a program, they were requested. But as you know, there were a series of approvals by the government, and we depend on that. That didn't happen before the fiscal year. That's the reason, in general terms, of what Maria just explained.
Well, now I go to discuss the budget of the 2020 fiscal year, the present one. The agency received a budget of the general fund for the amount of $352.1 million, of which 203.8 are going to for payroll. In the concept of payroll, the agency projects a spending of $211 million and a deficit of $7.4 million. The factors that are most relevant to the deficit when payroll are the funds where the funds are going, which was $5.9 million, and we're projecting a spending of $17.8 million. And for the payment of the liquidations for the voluntary transition program, the amount of $2.3 million were assigned, and the projected spending is of about $4 million. It is projected that a total cost of $374.4 million by June, which is why we have applied for additional funds for the amount of $22.8 million, which will allow us to fulfill those services for the adult and juvenile population. In the assignment of 003 of bought services, we project a spending of $57.7 million, and we received an assignment of $43.7 million. So we have a deficit of over $14 million. So the more spending in the 003 are the following spendings. The payment of the contract for the food services are $23.8 million, $11.3 for the payment of the contracts for the services to administer the health services, $11.2 for the payment of the ankle monitors, and over $33 million in CREA homes for such rehabilitation services, and $4.5 million in leasing that are in the community programs and other buildings. It's also important to mention that the assigned funds for the first semester for such services are non-existent right now, pretty much, and we owe it to Trinity Company for the $4.5 million for food in a period from 3 to 5 December, which for now, which has been 2 additional weeks that have combined, so it goes over the $5 million threshold. So, and it will also not be possible to fulfill those payments of the statements that we're receiving for the maintenance services, such as trash, extermination, ankle monitors. So all of those, we stop making the payments for them. So if you go to the PRIVA system, you will see $3 million available, but that's for the insurance that Hacienda, we already talked to Hacienda, and it will will be released now in December. This situation is affecting greatly right now. We owe right now in emergency services, we have already given $1.5 million. And I have in my office some petitions of over $2 million, which we cannot fulfill for lack of funds. In the assignment 005, transportation spending, we have a total spend of $1.7 million, and we receive an assignment of $723,000, and the average spending is $700,000. And we do have Auto Espresso, diet, and other spending. So it is important to mention to fulfill such payments as is a reimbursement. for which is because it's the spending from the employee. So what worries us more is the technicals and the for those who are in the community, which is their work is mostly to do it outside of the office. They have to go out to the communities and they interview the employees, those who employ the participants who are inmates that are not in the institutions. They're in programs of deviation and they go out to supervise them. So they take out of their budget, their own budget, to go to these places, and we owe it to them a great amount of money in this time. So, which is why we are applying for. We ask if you to reconsider those additional funds, the reassignment of funds. In relation to the income of 2020, we approved 26.2 million. Nonetheless, some of those projects have not been developed, and others are that the U.S. Marshal, we were going to give them more space to the inmates, and this was not produced from the beginning of the fiscal year. So of those 26.2 that we thought that we were going to, we made an adjustment of 18.4. Can you elaborate more on the U.S. Marshal topic, which is more important for you guys, and there was an issue for you? Yes, even the time is fine. Yeah, don't worry about the time. The issue is that the marshals, when I arrived in September, the marshals were not basically occupying the spaces. We had some of the institutions, that we plan to close in Salinas, which is one of those 13 closed institutions. Salinas is not really closed because we're not occupying it, but the marshals are using them. So that was the validity during this year. So that institution has spaces for them for 120 federal inmates. That the moment that I got there, there were no more than Rosario, more than 60 or 40 something, average of 60. So obviously that's a deficit in the projection of income, because our projection is to keep it at capacity. They pay over 200 a day, 130 daily. So every day that goes by without inmates is a substantial reduction that projection. So there was an issue. So it's a problem of strategies of security that I would not like to discuss in public, but that was resolved with the cooperation of the company of health services, the medical services. So they were given precisely my institution when it was medical ones were given to the 705 center. So that transfer of 705 to Salinas, they had some security problems, so the company aided us in that process. If you could help. Your project in the next 22. So it has been, we have 100 inmates, and in the next few weeks, we plan to have it at 120 since it's a fluctuation. Sorry for the interruption, Secretary. Does the department comply with the expected? Yes, the expectations, yes. We had a visit from the judge president and the fiscals, and they were greatly satisfied with the situation. So between the meeting and that visit, it's how this was called for to fill it to capacity. Thank you. Can you complete? Thank you very much. In income, until December 16, there has been a total of $7.8 million. The projections for income that we had at the time, the present time, covering from November to June, is of 10.6 million. It's because of this reason that we are applying or asking for the academy to be covered under these funds, as well as the officials for the juvenile services, which we're going to ask for 50, the recruitment of 50. So we project over 10.6 million, the cost of the recruitment of the 500 correctional officials is 6.5, and the juvenile it would be 357,000 for a total of 6,800,000. So basically, what we're doing, based on the great need that we have, so we are giving this academy with those funds. We're covering with those funds that, as is being projected, of over $8 million. So we expect that by the end of the year, it will be a greater of at least 10 million. So we are basically going to take all the funds that we generate, we're going to invest them there. So those extra 2 million, definitely another of the initiatives are the shops. So they require an investment of our part, and it is an important service for them to buy their supplies, inmates. So we have those 10 million, we have them committed. So that's our commitment to do the best that we can do with our hands with the U.S. Marshals, because this is a fund that cannot be necessarily put in a budget because it depends on so many factors. So if there is a closure or shutdown of the federal shutdown, then that affects us. And something that I wanted to say is that it's our plan to increase the installations because they are committed to keep sending us federal inmates, but they need to have some specifications that they require. So one of those closed installations that we have, when I got there was already commitment with Amscan, and they are going to use it. They have some expectations to use them, which is the one that complies with most of the U.S. Marshal requirements. So in order to renovate the forensics hospital, because they also have their problems, so we're in that pursuit. So the expectation for the 26 million that were projected in the past budget, it encompasses a lot. So that's my case. So to talk about the initiative that we have implemented to reduce the spending, in terms of the personal spending, we have identified and transferred since I arrived. There we did an exercise, and one of the first instructions that I gave as secretary is that every official that was in installations or realizing administrative work or civil for the class need that we have had to be removed. Well, not removed, but given to its placement in the institutional facilities. So we expect that to have a relief in extra hours because those are tasks that are carried out by new people and it doesn't pay for overtime. So we started a new academy. We have the expectation that for that new academy, since we receive an injection of correctional officers, I'm sorry to ask you, but just to understand. So we incentivize the retirement, as some people could go, and now we need personnel. So now we're spending in an academy. So I ask if you do some methods or practices that are advanced or technologically and cameras that could minimize to help those officials carry out their tasks to maybe contemplate to not have more personnel without doing those, or that we don't have as many? Does that exist in a management point of view? Do you see, I don't know, the 8 million that you haven't spent them entirely yet for the cameras, as you said. So cameras that, without any doubt, help to have fewer extra hours, correct? Correct. But we're hiring more officials, and we just pay for others to leave. So those are management issues and spending. So to clarify, they were not they were excluded from the retirement, the back order. Yeah. So in terms of the security cameras, there are other initiatives in mind that could be generated. I think that Rosario could more on that, could go more further on that. So we're on that ventilation of projects. Nonetheless, the system is critical. That what I'm doing right now is trying to stabilize it. I haven't had the opportunity, to sit down and think, because until I have no stability, I cannot generate ideas about new technology because we don't have those funds. The funds that I have are simply to subsist. I understand you entirely, but if you're planning on the long term for the benefit of your agency and all of us, we should not take into consideration and contemplate an investments that make sense towards the future that help the officials that are already there and use the technology to minimize that spending, right? In the agency, but also maximize, because it's a matter of reanalyzing the budget to maybe to have fewer need to continue hiring additional personnel to then have to offer early retirement. I agree. And we have generated ideas. Rosario, if you could explain some of them. Yes, of course. Good morning to all. The technology can help reduce. Yes, that is one of the topics that we have contemplated upon. But what can support me more is the structure. The structures are deficient in terms of construction, and they require greater impact of personnel. Even when I invest on technology, if my investment is not directed towards more efficient construction of facilities, I still have a high spending in terms of the personnel that I will need for that. Can you give me an example of what it means? Like, what improvement in the infrastructure would help you for fewer personnel? Okay, so a lot of my institutions are built for low populations. So I have to have different tasks for different facilities. So I have more capacity. It is more efficient if I compare the one in Bayamon, even though it is one of the institutions that have a lot of deficiencies in the structure. It has a low need of personnel because it was built so that one employee could supervise a greater amount of the population. If I go to another one like Guerrero, Aguadilla, which is one facility that was first a hospital and then it was turned into a prison, it was built at different times, different buildings that needed more supervision roles. Thank you. Okay, so I continue with the initiatives. So one of the initiatives that we have with the entry of officials, the correctional officials, through the academy is to diminish or decrease the X hours, like the hospitals outside, which are extraordinary situations that require the Centro Médico of Europe. So Rosario, you can explain this. We have seen in the past few years, we have been having statistics. We have average of 14 inmates in Centro Médico in Rio Piedras who are interned there. So 10 of these come from institutions that are far away, like from Ponce, Mayagüez, and Aguadilla, of which for every inmate, I have to send 2 officials that guarantee not only that the official can look out for the safety of but also to ensure the feeding. But this creates a spending that is for the distance. So I need 12-hour shifts. So the programming already creates overtime to cover the custody of that inmate in the hospital. So that has cost not only the physical hours, but also the transportation to return. So it is estimated that the employee is using 15 hours in every shift. So that turns to overtime, so 10.5. If we talk about it on a daily basis for 40 officials, it's over 420 hours that I invest daily on these inmates. So this strategy is directed to change and look at the Centro Médico as a place destined for work. So part of the hiring of my employees, the new ones, is that they work directly at the Centro Médico, and the Centro Médico has already created a place for us so that we can manage ourselves, and in such a way save not only the possibility of the custody, but I reduce my shift to 8 hours, and the estimated time for changes between employees is 15 minutes to 22 minutes. So we are doing a reduction instead of having 420 daily hours to reduce it to 11 hours. So that's for next year. We estimate that to have it when the academy finishes, so by March of 2020. So another of the initiatives is we have consolidated as part of the roster various functions. So if before I had a task for one for keys and another one to open the main gate, how can we consolidate those roles? Rosario, if you could elaborate. Okay, so in the Morales Feliciano case, that gave us some strategies of how we had to have the obligation of such tasks in the prisons. But we have been looking at the efficiency in our system, so we have started to consolidate more than one function into one employee. So we reduce the need for employees. So for purposes, I can bring the example of 705 in Bayamon. We had 16-hour shifts to supervise the pass of the inmates. So now that one employee can do it, and I close those two roles, so it reduces. Now we don't need 4, so it's 2 officials that are fewer. So the consolidation of such tasks or roles, like the handing of keys that the employee does both of those scenarios. So it's 3 officials per day, so we have been maximizing how to operate with fewer need of employees, being efficient in these services. Thank you very much, Colonel. So continuing to the other initiatives, as soon as I got here, there were 3 teams, depending on the topic and the instruction that they would have, and which are in development of that process. The task that they have is precisely to analyze and renegotiate and cancel contracts. So they should take the contracts that we have in the system, and we see in which way, in the situation in which we are found, we can renegotiate with those providers and suppliers, and with other types of, for example, the contracts that ASC has of that analysis. So 2 of the services that were being provided were at a fair price, they were cheaper. So we renegotiated and we required that change would be made, so we could manage that into that efficiency into contracts. So we are looking for companies that can help us generate an efficiency analysis in utilities, and it is these companies that it is a long-term analysis. Of course, we're not going to see them during this fiscal year, but we need to start with the initiative, identify this company that can help us with this task. Okay. And the last initiative in terms of paid services, procure services, we are in contact with the infrastructure office in the Fortaleza for other programs that we have of private rent. There are 5 programs of community programs. We are paying rent for them. So we are identifying schools of which are closed in order to move those operations to such schools to precisely reduce the rent spending. In terms of the juvenile program, we try initial movement, which is something that you already know. It is a movement of the personnel that is operating in adult facilities to go with the staffing that is being required, satisfy those requirements, and the monitoring ones as well. So we had a problem in the core for such movement. And where we really have installations is juvenile installations in the south. Much of these employees that are working in the north, in Bayamon, in adult facilities, which are really needed there. So to come from Fajardo to the south, to Ponce or Villalba, with the wages that they receive, of $1,600 a month, it provides the spending that we had meetings with the union that more than half saw the obligation to quit. So I talked to this with the monitor about this. So she said we'll wait for them to quit to see how much we have left and see what will be the need. So that additional need that we need, those that will come back, I don't expect them to last a long time. So I need them with the adults. So we had a detente with that, a halt with that. Because really what we have, so of those 50 are part of the 500, no, those 50 are additional because their trainings are entirely different. I cannot have them in the same academy taking the same training. But I maintain the overtime because if I took them out from the adult ones, I would need them there. So it is by cycle. So basically that movement, some 20 officials more or less have been moved to the south because we took them out of the programs where they were found. The alternative was either we reinstall them in some adult facilities or they go to the juvenile facilities, and 20 of them decided to do so, which had an increase in personnel in that sense, even though it was minimal. Like I already said, the Academy of 50 officials for juvenile services to avoid that overtime in there. And we have used CAPEX in such a way that we can enter with the accomplishment of such cases in terms of the role of those cases. Lastly, the potential contract deficiency. We are a point to make a contract with the authority to fulfill capex, to have a better alternative to invest those funds through AFI, and AFI will counsel us in and advise us in what are the better methods for managers, and that will definitely help us in the timeline that we have to culminate those problems and to be accomplished accordingly, because those are projects that have over $19.2 million, which is a lot to be supervised. So AFI will help us to maximize those $19.2 million. Thank you very much, Secretary.
¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta? Vamos a continuar y vamos a preguntar a la directora ejecutiva darme contexto para el próximo tema que vamos a que los planes para lograr el año fiscal 2020, las medidas que se van a tomar y cumplir con la reglamentación en vigor. ¿Ya hicimos el presupuesto? ¿Ese fue el 2020? Vamos a los programas juveniles. Yo tenía dos preguntas, si puedo, de la presentación previa. Una clarificación. Quiero que todos entiendan que habían dos columnas a la discusión del presupuesto. El departamento no es FNB, es el presupuesto certificado del Estado Libre Asociado. No es sobre el presupuesto, solamente es un presupuesto certificado. Y la segunda clarificación, en los servicios comprados, que hay una declaración que la Junta no dio dinero para la comida, el presupuesto, similar a lo que describimos en lo que estábamos haciendo para educación, no siempre va en ese nivel de detalle. Así que los servicios comprados es un concepto, incluye, entre otras cosas, eso, incluye todos los gastos sin estar por línea por línea. Y el año pasado, en el proceso de presupuesto, el departamento pidió servicios comprados de 43.6 millones y el presupuesto incluye 43.6 millones. Desde la perspectiva de dónde gastar y cómo gastarlo, eso al fin y al cabo es la decisión de ustedes, porque no ponemos ese nivel de detalles. Y las solicitudes del departamento se cumplió 100% en el presupuesto certificado. Vamos a seguir con discutir los programas juveniles. Eso es lo que hacemos ahora. We coordinated a change. We put juvenile.
Empezó con eso.
We started with that, and now it would be correction services,
Salud.
correctional health. Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present what's the correctional health program. To present it, they're looking for the presentation. The mission of the program is mainly goes along with the mission of our company, Physician Correctional, that started a year barely for management and operation of the health services of the correctional population. Our mission is mainly to provide access, medical access, efficient, in an integrated holistic system, physical medicine, oral medicine, and mental medicine or health. The compliance with the laws, state laws, and federal laws, and complying with medical and mental health plan established by the case Morales Feliciano. This service is offered to a population around 9,000, more than 9,000 inmates, adults, and 108 youngsters, and around 10 prisons around Puerto Rico. Now we go to the profile of health, the health profile of the inmate before going into jail. Is a Puerto Rican with a high incidence of abuse of alcohol and drugs, exposed to also violent environment, high incidence of conditions for cardiovascular conditions, diabetes mellitus, respiratory problems, COPD, has been a victim of violence. Many of them has personality disorders, among others, and major depression. In Puerto Rico, as well as in the United States, we know that the population in the jails, they're aging. And that also causes chronic problems, because one thing goes along with the other. Chronic problems increase. Also, there is an increase in the cost of the medical attention. We want to talk about the programs that we have established. The health program is very comprehensive, and it has all the ambulatory services. It has extra institutional services, but it also has many services that are 24/7, such as admission services, where they require personnel 24/7. We have long-term care. We have medical dorms, residential dorms. We have the psychiatric hospital for acute services. It's a medical center. We have pharmacy in all institutions, dental service in all institutions. We have chronic care, wellness, sick call program. We have a montage of infrastructure of technology that is changing, and we're modifying it in favor. There are many initiatives that we'll be talking about. We're talking about quality. We have all the auxiliary services, radiology, labs in all the institutions, nutrition. We have a very comprehensive program for mental health. We have detox and many specialty clinics interinstitutionally for infectology, physical medicine, internal medicine, podiatry, and among others. We also have extra institutional services for appointments, a medical use program for all the inmates needing services outside of the institutions. Briefly, as the Secretary stated, the budget, and I want to underline, the fiscal year 2019 budget for the program was $57.8 million. This year, 2020, there was a reduction of 24% and $43.8 million. In a petition for reappointment that it's pending, we have requested $8.3 million for the program. The reduction in the budget, and we want to point out that the same that cut may bring possible access problems for the service, the health service, a reduction of these services, and of course, as we stated before, Puerto Rico was 37 years with a case that was closed recently, that it cost to the people of Puerto Rico hundreds of millions in fines. Briefly, let's talk about budget to actuals. I'll be as quick as possible. And I would like to, this slide represents quite clearly 2017, the fiscal year, 2017. It had 66 million in expenses. This is expense for a population of 10,500. 2018, it was 60 million for 9,353, and 2018, 55.5 last year for a population of 9,194. We project that for this year, there will be no reduction in the population. It has kept constant, and we're requesting to meet with expenses $52 million, 3.4 million less with the same population as last year due to the economies and efficiency that we performed in the programs. In the year 2019, although we cannot see it, but we already talked about it, and 2020, we have the items 001, which is payroll, 003 and 006, which are the one with the most impact on the budget. We need the reallocation, reappointment, and I would like to state in the 001 that it's payroll and related expenses. That includes payroll for government employees. It has 7.1%, and that's for December 31st. The expenses are 8.3 million, spending 117% more than the budget allocated. With respect to the purchases services, 003, I would like to point out or underline that's 95% of that as allocation. They are regular employees, and they offer direct care to all the inmates. And in that aspect, we have 6.8 million budget, and in December 31st, we have $6.9 million. In 006, which is professional services, that budget, it's 100% directed, addressed to medical care, direct care to inmates extra-institutionally, outside of the institution, such as hospitalization, emergency room, cancer treatment, dialysis treatment, and all the appointments, extra appointments for subspecialists. The expense and the tendency from last year it was $20.5 million, and this year we had a cut for this allocation, in particular, of more than 50%. In materials and supplies, the budget is $4.3 million. We project spending $4.2 at the end of 2019. Although those materials and supplies, 94% is medications and surgery material for patients. I want to go back to 006. We have accounts payable. We have for health, who offer services to the inmates. That's physicians for the most part. Hospitals, mainly hospitals, emergency rooms, and specialists. That's correct. You don't have a medical plan as such. We function in that account. We function as if we were as an insurance company. The provider sends us, they send their invoices through a regular invoice. You take the risk for the care, total care of the inmate. You don't transfer the risk. If an inmate has a situation like cancer, the agency pays for everything. That's correct. With personal efficiencies and personal efficiencies, I would like to underline that there has been a reduction in 2016 through 2019 with respect to the personnel in 001 from 104 positions, and 003 we've made some adjustments. In this position, in this allocation, we project that we need $5.1 million as of June 30th. In non-personnel efficiencies, we've managed the inventory in a very efficient manner, the continuous inventory. We've negotiated many contracts. We've acquired rebates, discounts. We have a policy of purchase of generic medication that did not exist before. I will take benefit of that and we'll continue benefiting from it. And we have a medical form through clinical managed innovations. We've made many advances. I would like to talk very quickly about inmate cost analysis. We have too little time. The Oversight Fiscal Board plan, you offer an inmate a cost of $3,800 based on the Pew data charitable from 2011. The Secretary mentioned it. We didn't use the most recent data. Exactly. We have the same information that we shared with the Secretary. The cost per inmate for 2019 was $6,129. And taking into consideration the data of 2017 from the same source and verifying the populations and the profiles and demographic profiles, Puerto Rico with the population is very similar to the expenditure for inmates of these states: New York, New Jersey, Hawaii, Florida, etc., etc. The Secretary has already covered it and made some comments about it. I want to indicate that we've been working to make everything, not only with the correction departments, but also with the budget office and personnel that have been appointed by the board. We've had many meetings about our current projects and our future projects for the savings. We understand it's going to be of great benefit for all, and also for the plan we have set out to do. Can I ask a question? Since when did you know that there was a difference in the data? We submitted a memorandum. I think it was right after we found out that the reduction of the budget that we got it at the beginning of the year. We presented a memorandum, but we presented it with all the data that we have today. We wanted to point out about the savings that we've had in the program with respect to the expenditures, and we want to work along with the board and the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation and other plans we have. That besides the renegotiations, we want to have access to federal funds that we understand will be of great benefit, and it will be reflected in benefits for expenditure, reduction of expenditure for the next fiscal year. Also, clearly we're expanding everything that has to do with information technology through telemed, medication. We're investing in EMARS, which is technology for the dispensing of medication, that it is not so manual, so that will reduce the FTEs, eliminate the 24-hour services when it's not needed, do more screening, centralize the supplies and management, And we're going to implement also for the next quarter a program for supply management. We're also extending the utilization program for the screening of hospitalization and out of institution programs. That's a new thing we're doing. And also a renegotiation that I mentioned before of all the contracts, not only with suppliers for pharmacy, but also with all sorts of suppliers. And also with suppliers, vendors that offer health services to the inmates.
¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta? Sí, tengo una pregunta. Yo tengo una. La salud es un programa asegurado por sí mismo cuando lo compara con los estados que identificó. Esos estados, ellos tienen aseguradoras, son asegurados por ellos mismos, como lo ha dicho aquí. ¿Podría repetir la pregunta, por favor? Sí, disculpe, mi pregunta es, usted describió el sistema de autoseguro, de que ustedes pagan por todas las necesidades de salud, y también nos enseñó una plantilla de varios estados, en California siendo el más alto, y aquí con uno en el medio, en Nueva York y Nueva Jersey. Pero todos los estados están asegurados por sí mismos de la manera que usted describió aquí. That's what I asked you, if you had a plan, if you were the insurance company, if you were taking that risk in terms of self-insurance. That's what I mean. Yes, correct. I cannot determine, I don't know if other states work the same way we do. Why can't you do that? I don't know how they work, the rest of the states, if they work as a self-insurance, but I don't have data. But in Puerto Rico, we offer the service to the inmates extra-correctionally. And we work, what does that mean, extra-correction? That means that all the services that are not intra-institutionalized, hospitalization, emergency rooms. So it's an entire insurance plan. Yeah, like if it were an insurance plan. So you're going to study. You're going to study the way other jurisdictions do it. Yes, we can. Yes, correct. Thank you. Gracias. Thank you. ¿Algunas preguntas adicionales? Okay. Entonces pienso que hemos terminado. Secretary, thank you very much for you and your team to be here this morning. Thank you very much. Important for us to be able to better understand the department, and to have the opportunity to talk to you, to converse. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Thank you very much for the opportunity to serve you. Thank you. Ahora vamos a continuar con la segunda porción del programa. Si podemos, en 3 minutos, quisiéramos darle la bienvenida a Madeline Gotay, la persona que nos hablará sobre la asociación, que hablará sobre las condiciones de los encarcelados. Y tenemos otras preguntas. Comenzaremos en 3 minutos. If you could, yeah, I would like, quisiera darle la bienvenida. La portavoz para la Asociación de Confinados para discutir el problema en cuanto al Departamento de Corrección. Welcome. Good afternoon, Mr. Jose Carrion III and the rest of the board, Financial Oversight Board. My name is Madeline Gotay, the speaker of the Association for Pro Rights to the Inmates and mother of 2 inmates. I'm here to talk about the life conditions in the prisons of Puerto Rico from the perspective of the inmates, and how the efforts of the department to comply with those savings affect those services, including those of health. There exists the main idea, it exists the quality of life in the institutions. The population reports the following. There exists an estimate of 30 to 40% of inmates, even though the correction estimates that it is way less. So they don't have family members that could give them personal hygiene items, and they have no commissary or money, so they depend from what they receive from correction and the charity of other inmates. So those inmates, they have one article. They give one article of the from the families that they create, and there's a fund created by the inmates themselves for them. So of those funds, some personal hygiene are used. So the other one for the use of 5 inmates. So a pair of shoes for medical appointments, and then they return them so that other inmates can use them. So there's a lack of mattress, blankets, towels, and they share.
You said that they share shoes, and for them they shared also a uniform and many other things. Lack of mattresses, towels, bleachers. Towels are used and they're being used and overused. There's some that it's been storage that it doesn't reach the population. So for the inspection of the auditing, correction is in compliance, shows to be in compliance. One uniform per inmate that does not correspond to their level of custody or their size. The brigades, they work days in a row with one uniform they have to wash every day. In the visit, 3 inmates can share one uniform that they change to go to the room. This represents a health issue. Help me understand. 3 people use the same uniform. Since they don't have enough uniforms, the inmate that arrives has to wear the color that is available and the size that is available. And the department does not provide enough uniforms. No, they don't. Enough uniforms. Why they don't? I don't know, but they are not providing the uniforms. There are no uniforms. As I explained before, in the institution, they have one uniform. My son came to a visit. He sees me. He puts a uniform there, so another inmate who's going for a visit can have an uniform. He has to put a 2X or whatever size. It could be a small, and you have to live with a 2X. And what do they wear when they don't have uniforms? Regularly, they have the clothes that the family has brought every 3 months. That I believe it's going to be every 6 months, every 3 months. The secretary authorizes a package that the family bring that has like clothing, like boxers, T-shirts, socks, sneakers, sandals, and in addition to that, deodorants, soap, shampoo, toothpaste. That's what is authorized. So the people, the poor inmates, the indigent, they have the inmates. They have a fund. Like somebody drops a boxer, somebody gives a toothpaste, and with that we cover the people who don't get. The people who don't have relatives to bring clothes or those, they don't have anything. So they don't provide an uniform. They may provide an uniform, but as I told you before, they have to wear whatever is available. In the case of a visit and going to a social appointment with a psychologist or a social worker, they have to go with a uniform. With some medical appointment, just like the to shave, they have to share them because those are the indigent. They have like a razor and they use it and they share it. It depends on they depend on the charity of the other inmates. As I told you before, and an uniform per inmate that doesn't necessarily goes with the level of custody or their size, and the air conditioning that are damaged, and the lack of officers. It's essential for the follow-up, for the assistant, the social workers for maximal custody, also to process the correspondence and to represent the officers for the Committee of Reclassification and Treatment. Also, the agency to deal with the quality of the food, the special diets for condition of health. They're generic, not by condition, even though they may allege the opposite. The satellite kitchens, they prepare food for other institutions. There is not enough thermal cards to distribute the food and also to keep the food, the next round of foods. When the time they takes to go to the kitchen and the ones that are going to come back to the cells, the food gets cold, and then when they get back to it. As we requested before, the Department of Corrections for once and for all to solve the issues of the quality of the food. Trinity Service Group, they have a millionaire contract to feed the inmates, which is becoming poorer and poorer in the quality of that food. The crisis, in what aspect, why is it? The quality and the preparation. I'll give you an example. Ground beef that is very greasy, ground beef that is very greasy, in a stew, but in meat or in meatballs, in hamburger. If they're going to give you a salad of tuna salad or chicken salad, the dish comes with cabbage, corn, and just very little tuna or very little chicken. Those demands, the government, state government or the federal government, they determine is there an amount they are supposed to comply with. Correction, they are supposed to require the quality of the food when they make the contracts. I understand there is a person that, I don't know, the person that prepares the menu or the dietitian who prepares the diet to comply with the regulation, but Trinity serves whatever they understand they should serve. That's what the population, the inmates are saying, and I speak on their behalf. The inmates report that there is a selection of those who demand sick call. The inmate requests it, but they don't know when they're going to receive it. There is a delay in receiving the medications. The amount of physicians, if there is an internal medicine physician, they have to wait. They could wait for months. The specialists rotate. It is particularly difficult to receive ophthalmology services. The management and coordination of appointments with specialists and the medical studies that are ordered are terrible. Sometimes they don't take the inmate because of a lack of escort services. Other times, they have an appointment for the study in a date after the physician. They take them without the studies, without the results of the test, or without the preparation. The delay in the appointments causes that very expensive studies like MRIs lose all validity and they cannot be used. It represents a loss of money for the agency because despite paying for the MRI, now they have to repeat it. A reduction in the inmate population, it doesn't mean that correction can cover their needs with a much shorter budget. We're concerned that the department has to make a selection to the people they're not going to offer medical services. The medications for HIV patients or serious conditions, chronic conditions like hypertension, asthma, and diabetes cannot be the services that could be cut off. Why are you concerned? Why are you concerned when they reduce the budgets for efficiency that was for health? They have to cut the money, and where are they going to cut those services? They're going to cut. That's our perception, that the cuts will be like that. Right now, it's not like that, but that's your interpretation. No, they have not stated it. I understand. When you cut, the medical services will be affected, the services to the inmate. The government of Puerto Rico is in dire fiscal situation. We know it. The board has requested cuts in the agencies. Correction has not been the exception. The difference is that it has 9,047 humans under its custody. The inmate doesn't need luxury, but they need conditions that do not affect their dignity and services they have access, they have right to under the Constitution. It is important to mention that the approval of laws with sentences that are higher to be complied with in natural years and that not allowed inmates to receive bonus years, an alternative to the reclusion that reduces the term of incarceration, does not allow the people that could be rehabilitated can integrate the society and reduce even more the budget of the agency. Thank you very much.
¿Tiene algunas preguntas? Cuando habló sobre la falta de uniformes, ¿eso es único para este sistema de corrección? ¿Está al tanto con lo que pasa en los Estados Unidos en cuanto a los uniformes y a la disponibilidad? If you are up to date, when you say that there's a lack of uniforms in the correctional system in Puerto Rico, that they have to share, if you know of other systems, other correctional systems in the rest of the nation, the rest of the states that have that same problem. No, I don't know. I haven't looked for a reference to say. Gracias. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Good afternoon. Continuamos. Quisiera darle la bienvenida a Milagros Rivera Watterson, portavoz para el Comité de Familia y Amigos de Confinados. Esta es la traducción para que puedan ser ingresados nuevamente a la comunidad, los comisionados. If you can say the name in Spanish for the organization, it is called Committee. Welcome. Thank you for being here this morning. My name is Milagro Rivera Watterson, and I'm here as the Speaker of the Committee of Friends and Family of Inmate. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to express a position of our committee in respect to the situation we're facing that you're evaluating. I would like to say that this committee was started on the year 1981 under Dr. Trina Rios, and I have been with which I have been the speaker since 2012. In terms of, to summarize, I give it to you, but to summarize, we have a situation that worries us, that concerns us the most in terms of what is going on in the institutions of Puerto Rico. So the first one, are bad physical conditions and inconstant deterioration due to lack of maintenance in the walls and filtrations. And Ms. Milagros, after Maria, the situation was even worse. Obviously, like a lot of places in Puerto Rico, that Maria affected the institutions. But in your appreciation, the maintenance problem has been a recurring one, or was it worse later? The problem existed before, but when Maria came, those physical areas suffered even more, and since there is no money to fix them, every day they worsen. In second place, there is a lack of hygiene in the feeding services, such as smelly foods and unclean plates, and that affects as well the fact that the inmates with diabetes, hypertension, as well as they do not receive the adequate diet. So there are also limits on education, since there are not enough teachers assigned by the Department of Education to offer vocational courses, and the equivalency exams of the 10th grade are not being offered for those who don't have the 10th grade, which delayed the vocational courses for the inmates, since it is a requirement, and it affects his rehabilitation and the change of custody. And the women inmate have also complained about this, and this limits the opportunity for them to have employment, and they say that they've been discriminated in that aspect. And they have signed an agreement with the Department of Education to help that, to obtain that personnel. And we don't know what consists that contract and how the services are going to be affected. And the fourth situation that are the mental health services that are offered to the inmates, because the higher company, the physician correctional services, has been decreasing the resources, and they have sent us a communication in August to stop 77 professionals that they were going to start on September 30, and they will stop in December of this year. And obviously that's going to cause great problems, because those psychiatrists, there are psychiatrists, psychologists, and social workers. So they're taking decisions that concern us because it affects directly the services, the inmates. In the first place, they have given instructions to the social workers that since the month of October, they don't offer those services for alcohol therapy and as well as drugs. And to maintain, they have to be maintained in order to see changes in custody, and by not receiving them, the population is being affected negatively. And they have been receiving also, the inmates have been receiving, that were receiving mental services after closing the centers for lack of funds, such as the one in Bayamon, causes great problems because it's not the same, the rules and regulations in a physical hospital as a hospital that caters to those who are mentally ill. And we are also concerned about the ambulatory service of the mental health, known as OPD, have been affected in such a way that the psychiatrists used to go there 3 days a week, and now they only go once a month. And also another situations that we're concerned about, the fifth one is the death in the inmates until today reached numbers of 53. And this is an increase compared to 2018. And this worries us, this concerns us to those effects. The Civil Correction is making a study and investigation of these deaths. So what worries and concerns us is the institution of these. As recent as the October 26th, when some officers were carrying these cases in Bayamon. And another thing is the lack of the officers in the institutional facilities that we have signaled. So this causes other problems that maybe others don't visualize because they don't see it as related, such as the suspension of visits for the family members, or do not take them to appointments outside of the institution, and the suspension of religious services, among others. Another situation is a lack of the necessary budget that has caused other services with the utilization of programs projects outside of the institution that offer treatment for rehabilitation and the reinsertion into society. They are not being offered to all the inmates that qualify, such as Hogar Crea, Team Challenge, Hogar Nuevo Pacto, UPENS, and others, because there is not enough funding for them. So we have some recommendations. So the first one, it would be the approval of a budget that is needed to strengthen the services that I have already mentioned, and to develop any monitoring of the physical and mental health for the inmates. And we also recommend a follow-up to the educational services in the system, as well as other contracts that you may have with other organizations, and to determine and prepare a plan to improve the structures, and as well as improve the hygiene and food services, and to develop recreational programs in all the institutions, and to name the necessary security staff, and to offer the maintenance of continuous education, and to respect the rights of the inmates. And they should also be included the treatment of family members in the visits. And also, we also recommend the strengthening of the religious services by revising the manuals that you have, which has already been signed, and to revise the protocols in the death of the inmates, and to have trustworthy statistics, and to offer the inmates services to plans for reinsertion in the society. And we also recommend that the female inmates, their cases can be studied for better services for them. And we also services for liberty under oath of word. And lastly, we recommend the revision with the bonification of the inmates by work or study so that they can be executed on the current laws, because we are having problems in that area. We can also consider, with what I have said before, there's a lot to be done in order so that the department can really accomplish their tasks with rehabilitation, so that rehabilitation can be real and attainable. And to do so, we need to understand that the inmates should be treated with a psychosocial focus, and that until our committee wishes that it can be like this. And those effects we have been communicated, and we have been meeting with the agency to give our suggestions. And we do consider in the lastly, that the most important thing for us as well is this of attaining a good budget, which is why we thank you for the opportunity to be here with us. But it's not only about budget. I'm a social worker, but I also studied public administration. I know about this. So it's not only about the budget. We need to invest it well and allocate it where it is needed, and not to more bureaucracy. That's what we need. So we want a budget that can allow for this, in a system that can ensure its rightful use. And it has to be on the long term to evaluate the department to fulfill such goals. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here with us. So, one question, ¿podemos clarificar? Ya tocó el de 68 sobre los suplidores privados de la salud mental, los proveedores de salud mental que salieron en la prensa, y la alegación fue que habíamos cortado los fondos, que no lo habíamos hecho de manera adecuada. No hemos recibido nada del departamento en cuanto a ese problema. ¿Es eso correcto? Tenemos una solicitud de nuestra oficina, así que llegó recientemente. Sí, recientemente. I would like to elaborate on that. So it's a question about that comment that you have made. In the last few months, there has been a lot. The press has covered this a lot in TV and radio, everywhere. And I have been very vocal about this. So one of the things that concerns us, and we talk about it with the College of Social Workers in Puerto Rico, is the fact that because you don't have the enough amount of money, recognize this association that it has been reduced by $14 million. So under that reduction, as administrators, they have to do at the same time a reorganization. What has happened with that? Has affected us is the area of the mental health, and we're not making this up. We have met with people that work in these organizations, but they are also social workers. So we have reliable information. So the instructions that are being given to the personnel that gives these services that they provide, we are going to be doing fewer interventions. We are going to be talking to fewer inmates, and we're going to transfer them from the institutions to the area where, you know, that in Bayamon there's a hospital, but it's a hospital that was developed and is being evaluated by the Young Commission as a hospital to give services in the physical aspect, not for mental health. So they have taken those who suffer of mental health issues to take them there in order to save money. So, but they put them in another floor. But the thing is that the rules under of a mental hospital are not the same for the ones in physical health. For example, I am an inmate that have a mental problem. When I was in the other institution, I had a right for visits, and I have a 6-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I could see them all the weeks. By being transferred to another institution that has to be managed because it's a hospital by the Indian Commission, they cannot receive visits from children who are younger than 12. So you're limiting those inmates to not see his family because of that requirement. It's not going to be fulfilled. Yes, in the personal plane, I have experience in mental health. I have a family member. And me too. My mom was schizophrenic, and I lived the whole day with that. That's my sister's like that. So, as I said already, the budget is elaborated. It's not perfect, and we do expect that they notify us that this is a procedure in order to revise the topic and to reach a conclusion. But I'd like to logically say that sure, we agree that in the mental health aspect and other ones we can agree on that are essential, there will be a budget, and we're going to look for it. The reality is that 65% of the inmates have some sort of problem, either about drugs or mental health, and we need to take care of that. We understand that. What we're trying, the effort here is to try to, what we have to work with to allocate it to what is essential and necessary. And that's what this dynamic is about. So we really thank you for being here in this morning. ¿Alguien tiene preguntas adicionales? Yo tengo. Mencionó, quiero decir esto correctamente, como una trabajadora social, mencionó que no es solo presupuestos, sino que también es la burocracia que impide que las cosas desde su punto de vista que mejoren. Así que la eficiencia. Así que mi pregunta es, ¿qué es lo que usted observa en la burocracia que debería cambiar en la manera en que las cosas se manejan? Well, I mentioned earlier that I have 45 years of experience of public working, but I also have a master's in public administration, and I've had experience in the public sector and private sector. I'm a professor of business administration at university. So under my experience as administrator, I understand that when you work with a budget like this, which is not broad, we need to split the administrative area from the services to the inmates in that area. I don't have, obviously, all the information, but I do understand that one of the things, if I were the chief of that administration, one of the things that I would have done, it would have been to analyze that budget and to look if the most important thing is to achieve the service of rehabilitation, then I would have to say, well, how much of that is indispensable to provide that service that we need, but where can I cut if there are under the administrative budget? I don't know it well. I don't know it, but I was also a director of human resources, an office of human resources. So in Puerto Rico, everybody knows in the agencies there are a lot of trust roles. So there's 40, for example. So we would need to study. So that's why I talk about reorganization. So we need to study under that budget where can we really cut that it is not the other area. If we're closing institutions, how is it that I cannot understand? How are we not saving? How are there no savings? There's two things I cannot understand either. Well, I understand. Under my administrative mind, it's really hard to understand. So I have some concerns that we have taken them everywhere to the legislature. I've met with many legislators, and we're studying how we can, in this country, this is a country of investigations. The legislature has made a lot of investigations and have made a lot of recommendations. So it's not that. And studies, yeah. the country of studies and investigation. But if those studies and investigations don't reach some conclusions that you say, hey, I have a plan, a short-term plan, a medium-term and long-term of how I'm going to deal with this to reduce spending, to cut that spending in some areas, but at the same time without affecting those services. Because imagine, I heard something that we're going to run out of money to pay for the food, the inmates. So that would be terrible. So I expect that that doesn't happen. But really, the budget does not, they're not taken to the abyss. They have to be based on what they are, what it is, the needs, what are the needs and the spendings, and how can occur to those spendings. Thank you very much. Gracias. Thank you. Moviéndonos, el señor Benjamín Borges Hernández y Jessica Martínez están con nosotros. Perfecto, muy bien. Así que quisiera darle la bienvenida a Benjamín Borges Hernández y Jessica Martínez, portavoces para poder compartir sobre las condiciones de trabajo en las facilidades de DCR. Gracias por estar aquí. Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share information. I'm going to be very brief in the introduction because I would like to go straight to the information that we would like to present here. Yeah, we know each other. Yes. Good morning. My name is Benjamin Borges, representative of the American Federation of State Council and Municipal Employees, and I'm the speaker of the United Public Servants, which is affiliated to the alliance that represents over 3,400 officials in the Department of Correctional Department. Jessica Martinez here next to me, the president of who is also known of ACU. Most of the people here know that in Puerto Rico there's an obligation, an unconstitutional obligation to provide rehabilitation opportunities to the inmate, but not many know the roles that this plays. The officials are not only responsible to avoid the aggressions, they are also responsible for the safety and transportation so that the inmates can participate in the rehabilitation program.
Interviews with the social workers, therapists, classes, and work opportunities. These programs are vital to avoid that once they finish their sentence, they don't go back to jail. Therefore, it's an essential service to maintain the conditions of safety in the country, in the island. But with the reduced personnel and without encouragement to stay, there is a risk for the public safety. According to the numbers that it was shared by the Department of Corrections, in the last 4 years, 680 officers have resigned and 185 have been left out or fired. For 100, how many were laid over? 185 were fired. And I was going to clarify later on, it wasn't for financial reasons that it were disciplinary action, not even, it wasn't cases, disciplinary actions, they are left out for health conditions that they cannot comply with their functions. It's a kind of, for a total of 186 officials, for resignations that have been with incentives. It's 1,081 officers that have left the system for different reasons that have not been fired. They have not been left out for economical, financial reasons. We know the situation of Puerto Rico and the situation. Those resignations, they have not been due to the competitivity of other sectors, economic sectors, or other offers. At least not here, not in Puerto Rico. It's due to lack of incentive to stay in the employment, even if they have to leave the island. It creates a vicious circle. The lack of personnel obliges for people to stay working with extra shifts That is not a few hours only, but another additional 8 hours. That also causes, and in many occasions, for their vacation leave are postponed and they are not authorized, or they cannot be absent even for meritorious situations, and also when they have days accumulated. And according to the department, the adult system of correction has a deficiency of approximately 1,026 officers lacking, which is a very high percentage of the personnel. If the officers do not do their overtime or 16-hour shift, it would be as if in a week or weekly there would not be officers for 2 entire days in corrections. That would be the equivalent. We have corroborated that, checking position by position, the personnel assigned in each shift, in each institution, what we call the rosters of the correctional system. We believe that the only way to retain to stop the deficit of officers is investing in the retention, something that had already been anticipated by Mr. Carrion. The department has agreements with different institutions that generates income. It's very notable with the Marshall system that should generate over $25 million that the Secretary talked about it in his presentation. But also, there are other initiatives. For example, the contract with the municipality of Arecibo, in which, according to the mayor, Molina, saves 40% in cost for the collection of garbage with a contract of $408,000. There are other agreements with other municipalities for maintenance of green areas and for the roads. It's very worth mentioning these projects, but we understand that the agency is not in a position to subsidize other government agencies. We understand that the renovation of these contracts must be assessed in terms of the investment and recovery, and the money is allocated for those projects and for all productive activities performed by the department for a fund for the retention of the officers. After all, a full staff, it's a lot more economical than a deficiency personnel. It's more simple. They're going to be paying less overtime, and they're going to be a healthier staff, and they're going to be more alert. And it was confirmed by the presentations by the Department of Correction with respect to how the fatigue for professionals work. I would like to leave the president of APU, who's a correctional officer, to talk about it. A question. ASME meets, you also represent correctional officers in the north. Yes, that's correct. You meet, you look for the Department of Correction to have discussions about best practices in other jurisdictions and how can it be applied in Puerto Rico. The officers, correctional officers, can participate of what it's called the consulting assessment for correctional officer, where they can participate in this kind of discussions. The union is the one that has the experience because they are representatives over there. They know what works there, what could help Puerto Rico to implement a series of things. It's through that vehicle. It is the structure of the union. Residents, and they meet periodically? Yes, they meet periodically. They do. As a matter of fact, since you opened that door, I would like to share a text that I received yesterday from my colleagues in Maryland, and I'll read it to you. Saludos. El Consejo de Maryland Estatal reportó que hay 30 oficiales correccionales de Puerto Rico en la Academia de Adiestramiento para Corrección. Ellos cerraron prisiones en Puerto Rico después del huracán. These were 30 correctional officers who left to Maryland, who went to work directly with Maryland State Correction Office. What he's mentioned is the people of Puerto Rico trained them, and now they're going to Maryland. So they took the benefits of that. Thank you. About the officers' fatigue, I would like to state that it comes related to the work conditions. It is obvious, but we should also mention to compare the police department using statistics from the state insurance fund of these two agencies. For the fiscal year 2016, the Department of the Police of Puerto Rico had 15,000 employees between officers and civil servants. In the correctional department, we had 7,400 employees between officers and civil employees, less than the personnel that works in the Department of the Police. However, for 2016, the State Insurance Fund, police had filed 1,200 cases, whereas the Correctional Department had 1,200 cases, 1,288. Correction had 50 cases more than the police department, despite the fact that they only had half of the population of the personnel, which is 7,000 employees less. For 2017-18, there were 2,400, whereas in the police it was 1,279. It's a big difference if you consider that the police department has the double of personnel of the correction. This where the fatigue of the correctional office, there is a lot of danger dealing with a lot of inmates, with very few officers, with very deficient equipment, the change of sleep patterns, and the situations they live day after day. We are also facing labor conditions that would never happen to other workers. They have hours to wait till they go to the bathroom, eat without being able to choose your food, to eat standing because they don't have anybody to substitute them, and dealing with their own personal issues. And then when you have to leave work, they tell you have to stay for another 8 hours because there is no substitute. Not being able to communicate, have very few personnel, and overloaded. Given this situation, less than the people who approve the academy stay at the job. Those who last for a year have more chance to continue, but there is a frustration for a job that demands too much in exchange for very little. In correction, in 2014, I was the president of my academy. We were around 250 officers. Currently, only from my academy, there are only 100 active. Most of them are in the correction system, but in the United States. The most recent is Academy 11. It was in 2017. Of that academy, out of 250, there is only 70 active. And likewise, that's a picture we have. Right now, it's going to... Why has it become more acute? The salary, the increase of the cost of living. When you compare to the United States, the correctional officer takes $16 an hour. We collect $9.25. The functions in the United States, I'm talking about the Mississippi statistics. I think it's the poorest state. The functions of the officer in the state is much less. We give transportation to go to court. We offer services. If they have an overdose, we're the first responders for the NAFCAM. If they have some kind of seizure, we're the ones who offer the CPR. We are a lot more than just safety and service. Thank you. The solution of that problem, of the lack of personnel, it's not recruiting officers, as we said, to then lose more than half of them. It's to invest and retain the ones who have gone under fire and the different tests they have to undergo. If the department doesn't take care of that, we're going to have less personnel that will be more worn out, and will cost more to the agency for overtime and sick leave. We need more money to be allocated to increase the salaries and to avoid a greater crisis. We're always the scapegoat in the system, but we will be all responsible if there is an unstable environment in the jails, since there are also conflict between the different gangs in the system, because there is no way to control the contraband. We're in a period that the contraband is coming in constantly, and there is war among gangs. and also that the inmates are dying more often and other situations that may come up. Thank you very much. ¿Tiene alguna pregunta? Sí. Presumo que escuchó anteriormente un comentario sobre la falta de uniformes y lo que hace con respecto a los reos, a él o a ella, de la humillación posible de tener que aceptar de ponerse un uniforme de alguien más o no tener los suplidos, un suplido de uniformes correcto. ¿Tú ves eso como un oficial de correcto, un problema de seguridad al no tener que los reos tengan uniformes regularmente? The Department of Corrections implemented to save. The family brings a package. They bring underwear, sneakers, other articles. It seems that the same inmates, they had a workshop where they prepare the uniforms. I can speak about my institution. There is not a problem of uniforms. I suppose in others it does happen, but in my institution, there is not a problem with the uniforms. Thank you very much to both. It's very interesting, and we learned a lot. Thank you for being here. Para concluir, queremos agradecer al secretario Rivera Juanatey, a su personal y por supuesto el último panel, la señora Cotay, el señor Milagro Rivera Watterson, el señor Bojes y señora Martínez por su tiempo y la disponibilidad, y estamos agradecidos que hayan provisto información muy valiosa y útil para nosotros sobre este asunto tan importante, puesto que hemos terminado en el día de hoy la vista y no tenemos otros asuntos. Estoy presentando la moción que terminemos la reunión. Segundo la moción. Gracias, David. Vamos a hacer una votación. Todos los que estén a favor, sí. Puesto que no hay ninguna... Todos los miembros votaron positivamente, así que termina la reunión en estos momentos. Una corrección, perdón. Antes de terminar, vamos a abrir la... We're going to open the meeting to any public comments that anybody may have. Please, we'll give you the microphone. You identify yourself. And if you can keep your comment to 3 minutes, we will appreciate it. And welcome. Carlos Morales Camacho, Correctional Officer, member of the Alliance for the unit that was present right now. My participation, I want to participate in the discussion, and as a personal representation, there has been many things has been said that are real, but our union, my position, the one that I belong to in the United States, the president, we need a salary adjustment. How can you retain your base personnel, an officer who has 5 years, who's only making $1,600? You're not going to retain them in the conditions we work in. You work for 8 hours to devote 16 hours to your home. We work 16 hours, 17 and 18 hours because you never leave at the exact time. Officer like me, that have been working for 20 years in this office, I have an acceptable salary, although the conditions are not the ones we desire. We request to the people of Puerto Rico, before the people of Puerto Rico, you can get 250 cadets, officers today. Are you going to lose in a year that same amount or a little more because the conditions that we work on? You cannot retain an officer at this moment. I was talking to the cadets. He's an officer because they are working with us as cadets. They do the same job we do. You're not going to retain them. The officer in the metropolitan area, does not produce officers. You're from Puerto Rico. They're mostly from Aguadilla, Cabo Rojo. Those are the officers that are recruited. With $1,600, it's not enough. They have to pull the toll, the gas. You have a car that consumes a lot of gas. You basically work to pay only the transportation, and you barely see your family. So I really ask that if something really moved me to come here and talk to you and see you, we've had meetings with the secretary. He's willing to increase our salary. Besides everything that it's been said today and the conditions, the daily conditions, we must improve them because we believe in the rehabilitation, but we believe in a dignifying treatment to the officers. I ask you, and I ask the people of Puerto Rico, the Secretary is willing to address the salary issue. The senators, Mr. Newman, Dalmau, and others, they're in the capacity of doing it. We need the willingness, the you as Puerto Rican must understand this, do justice. We are 3,000, 4,000 professional officers that request this salary adjustment. Thank you. Buenos días. Buenos días. Mi nombre es señor presidente, miembro de la Junta. Soy Aileen Díaz Ortiz. Soy una abogada de defensa para la Sociedad de Ayuda de Asistencia Legal. Los acusados en Puerto Rico que no pueden pasar tienen que pasar entre 160 días para estar en unidades psiquiátricas. Eso es una orden de corte para tratamientos de tratamiento mental. Cuando ha sido declarado competente para seguir un juicio, este peso, además de ser inconstitucional y inhumano, crea una carga tanto en el sistema de justicia y el sistema de salud mental. Los cargos criminales contra acusados no competentes no progresan en el sistema judicial, mientras el acusado es incompetente. Un dinero significativo se utiliza por el Departamento de Correcciones. Tiene una persona incompetente, lo mantienen en la cárcel por meses y años. Son presos que se presumen inocentes. El costo reduce los fondos para la reducción de fondos para hospitales psiquiátricos en Puerto Rico. Hay solamente 2 hospitales forenses, 2 hospitales psiquiátricos, uno en Ponce y otro en Río Piedras. Con un presupuesto insuficiente de 5.5 millones cada uno, dan 200 servicios. ¿Quiénes son los dueños de esos AMSCA? 26 son para mujeres, para toda la población. Como es bastante obvio de estos números, los hospitales estatales que rechazan tratamiento a los acusados competentes. No es que los rechacen, es que no tienen servicios para hacer servicios forenses de salud mental. Esta catástrofe en Puerto Rico es emblemática de lo que se llamaba una crisis en los Estados Unidos, que ha provocado demandas de alto nivel en distintos estados. Para el 2018, por lo menos 13 estados han tenido que llevar a la restauración de programas en las cárceles. En unos programas limitados dan servicios de restauración a acusados que no son competentes para recibir un juicio en lo que son transferidos a un hospital de psiquiatría. El Departamento de Corrección de Puerto Rico y un hospital está sirviendo a 92 acusados que no están competentes para recibir un juicio y están esperando y tienen que recibir algunos medicamentos psicotrópicos, pero se tienen que quedar con la población en unos sitios llenos, demasiado llenos y muy peligrosos y muy poco estables. La indiferencia deliberada a las necesidades reales de los reos es una inflicción de dolor innecesaria para estos reos y esta falta de fondos no excusa a que mantengan un servicio mínimo de servicios médicos para que no haya un tratamiento cruel y innecesario. Y en este escenario, un servicio de competencia en cárcel en lugar de estar esperando una lista para una admisión en un hospital, economizaría cientos de miles y quizás millones de dólares y también darle un derecho proceso correcto a los ciudadanos. Y la segunda, debería haber por lo menos un costo-beneficio análisis para ver y restaurar los servicios de salud médica como hacen muchas otras instituciones de Estados Unidos. Entiendo que deberíamos. ¿Hemos hecho eso? No, lo haremos. Muchas gracias por compartir esa información muy importante.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Miguel Nazario, el Consejo de Servicio 1, el proveedor de servicios de comida para el Departamento de Corrección. La Trinidad tiene obviamente un compromiso grande con Puerto Rico, pero hoy me di cuenta de que se le acabaron los fondos y que van por la mitad del año fiscal, así que obviamente tengo una responsabilidad para llevar esta información a mi cliente. Bueno, usted tiene la responsabilidad. Sí, eso es lo que dije. Y tengo la responsabilidad de llevarle esa información a mi cliente. Obviamente, cuando nosotros entramos a un encuentro con el departamento, vemos que movieron 24 millones de dólares al año para pagar para los servicios de comida. Así que y cuando nos dicen que ya no tienen dinero, obviamente pone a mi cliente en una posición incómoda. Así que mi pregunta es, ¿qué hará la Junta Fiscal sobre esto? Obviamente, como dijo la señora Jarescol, le proveemos la línea y ustedes deciden cómo usar esos fondos. El procedimiento es bien conocido en el gobierno. Usted tiene un problema con su cliente, pues entonces usted ya tiene una discusión con el departamento y el departamento lo hace con la OPG y la OPG entonces se acerca a la Junta para reconsideración. Si hay una garantía de eso, proveemos la aprobación y ellos están conscientes de eso. Así que tiene que tener una conversación con su cliente. Obviamente voy a hacer eso, pero le quiero dejar saber que nosotros no estamos conscientes de ello, sino que fue hoy que nos concientizamos de eso. Y nuestro cliente nos dijo que el departamento le dio ese contrato sin poder proveer el servicio en exceso de 3 millones. Sí, no estábamos conscientes de eso, de esa situación. Ese es un asunto particular. Good morning. My name is Jose Nieves. I work in the Centro Médico Correctional. Today I'm missing a day of my vacations because I wanted to be here. I'm an official that I lost my house during Hurricane Maria, and still I haven't been able to finish my house. The money from FEMA, I have to use it to pay for everything that has to be used in my house. I have family. I need to save money to finish my house, and it's not enough. We do the work. We're part of the rehabilitation of the inmates. Not all the officials, like they say, are bad. There are good officials that work for the people to ensure Puerto Rico. While we're not under the security umbrella, we have in the institutions everyone there. We're looking out for the safety of the inmates, of the Puerto Ricans, and we always give the extra mile, even in such difficult job that we have. We haven't failed, and we have continued working. We're working day by day. Today here, there are not that many correctional officials because they are either working or resting for double shifts, and I only ask you that you take us into consideration. Everybody here, I can say that we will take you into consideration. That's why we're here. Everybody knows, the senators, the politicians, they know that our salary for the work that we do is really low. So I ask of you to look more look ahead from the official of correction who is being judged from the things that we do, but it's not like that. We are in Centro Médico. I'm always in Centro Médico in Rio Pérez, under the custody, and we are with them as if they were a family member. We agilize the process with the physicians, and that is a responsible correctional official with his job. So, in the name of all the correctional officials, I am here losing one day of my vacations because I took a TC so that people can see that more than a prison, beyond a prison, there is an inmate, and that we are part of the rehabilitation of them. Day by day, we work and we fight for that so that these people can go out to do things the right way. And a lot of correctional officials, most of them, we do the job, and we are not like they say, like people say. So we trust in you, and we trust that behind some prisons there are officials that have families and need to move forward. Blessings to all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here this morning. Una última. Yes, of course. Good afternoon. My name is Janeris Torres. I'm under the representation of Yale Services. Now that our president is not available due to academic measures, I'm also a member of the Committee of Family Integration of Agardilla, and I have representation of our committee, as well as I work in the area of health, in the health area, my secular place, and I'm the wife of an inmate. It's really important for us to know that the correctional system is in a critical condition and that we have deficiencies in the jail system and a lot of concerns that have been punctualized in the correctional department by part of the defense, as well as other types of agency like the Commission of Civil Affairs in Puerto Rico, and we have had direct communication. And part of the problem of the existential problematics is that the conditions, the structural conditions, like cells with no water or power, no light, no paint, mold due to lack of paint, windows that don't work, lack of heat of heated water, water filtration when it rains. The showers, they are not in optimal conditions that guarantee the life of dignity for our inmates, as well as we have problems in terms of food. The food, I can ask you, and sorry for the interruption, the topic of the infrastructure and its maintenance. That has been it has been always like that. Now we have realized that of it. What is your perception? I've been a member of the committee working for the institution. I'm going to talk in reference of the institution of Aguadilla, which is the one that mostly, yes, in your experience. My experience before, there was more pain and more tools to maintain the infrastructure, but now they lack of it. Personally, this Saturday, I, as part of the member of the committee, have been tasked with recovering money from family members, with members of the congregation, of the Christian one that I belong to, as well as friends in my job, my work, and we task ourselves for compiling money in order to buy paint, roll, and microwave ovens that are needed in some modules because the food does not, given the problem of the problems that we have, they are not at the right temperature, and they are found in the difficulty that they have to eat cold food, and the microwave ovens are damaged, and the system does not count with the budget apparently to be able to buy new ovens and new tools for our inmates. So the families, we have been given the task by ourselves to do so, and it's not something that hurts us because it's for the rehabilitation of our inmates to cover for those needs in the prisons. And it is an arduous task that requires a lot of work and sacrifice because we do know that the situation outside of the jails and the prisons, the families, we have one less family member and it's one less salary that we have, and we are under the obligation to practically provide for them because we do understand that rehabilitation is not something that is given only to the system, but also from it should come from us, the family members, because this inmate, if he's not being rehabilitated correctly, without the resources due to the lack of money and the cut that you have been obliged to do, we need to understand that as the inmate is not rehabilitated, he will become a social burden because then he will go to the free community, not rehabilitated, and will have a high percentage to go back to the place which is what we don't want. So we need that the budget be assigned, and not only assigned, but also used really in answering to those needs of the inmates so that they can have people that can be rehabilitated and can be useful for our society. Thank you very much. Any other person that would like to make a comment on an observation question? No? Okay. Okay, we voted yes. So we are adjourned. Hemos cerrado a las 2:34 y quisiera darle las gracias a todos por venir.
Morning today, we had the chance to truly learn, listen about an agency that is very complex, that is a very important mission for Puerto Rico and for our society. I believe it was very useful not only to have the secretary and his aides, but also the people who work with the community, with the inmates and with the department in order to have a real perspective, a more complete view and more complete picture before making budget decisions that will affect the agency and therefore its population and the services they provide and our community in Puerto Rico. It was very useful. I think it was very useful, and we're very thankful that we had the chance to have this occasion and that we were able to extend it a little further to do our job better. Now, with great pleasure, we will address any questions you may have. First question about this topic. Osman, primera hora. The question, given that there was disparity with the numbers that they provide and the numbers you had, and besides all the difficulties, some of them that are unthinkable, even your reactions, as you showed, if there is, you're going to make the decision to review those numbers or what? It will be soon because there are services they may not be able to pay. The topic on, let's say, punctual, your observation, it's correct. There is a discrepancy about the numbers and that we have to revise that. However, there are mechanisms and ways of doing it that they can use for any kind of reallocation of funds. And they know how to do it. I know the people in the government know how to do it. We're not going to, we understand that it's part of this function. There are many comments. Oh, we're not going to be able to pay because the board doesn't allow us. And that's being used as an excuse. The truth is, and we were able to prove it, we had a similar situation when we had the Department of Education. There are many needs. We know that. We know that when you work a budget, you're making decisions, adjusting the budget to to what's really important, but it is a budget. It is not a, that's what they have, and that you have to work with that. There are many decisions that have been made not because of a lack of budget, but it's a management issues. There are decisions, options that the management has made, not this gentleman because he just arrived, but through the years that have been made, and those decisions have budget implications. And I ask you, you have to make decisions, and you have to decide what we're going to fund and what we cannot do, or rather what we should not fund. That's part of the conversation. But this concept of giving more, look for more, allocate more, we don't have a magic drawer where we have money, like Natalie says. We have to make decisions. We have to make decisions based on our circumstances, our budgets, and that depends on good management. And that's the one who make the decisions, or the ones who make the decisions. We want to stimulate, to encourage those decisions to be correct. We're going to talk about when they stated that he said that 11 prisons were shut down since 2012. As of 2018, 8 have been closed. 3 were already closed. 5 were closed, but were not quote unquote because they located other things. They're doing things there that before they were renting. So they had that cost, but they consolidated that. But you know what's the savings for those closings? Nothing. Remember when we were talking about that 30% of the schools were shut down, and how much was the economy of closing 30% of schools that brought so much problems to Puerto Rico? 17% reductions, or it should be like a 30% savings. These are management issues. And that's why I want to encourage that kind of conversation, so they make the right decisions and they allocate the right budget to things that we acknowledge that are essential. Did I answer your question? No, can I?
add something?
Para añadir algo,
There is a great deal
hay mucha más información que necesitamos para tomar buenas decisiones. Por ejemplo,
for the longest time.
por mucho tiempo el Departamento de Correcciones en los últimos 2 años no nos podía decir dónde están los 6,000 empleados y qué estaban haciendo. Recientemente el secretario lo hizo, una revisión de la lista, y vio que 3,000 estaban en otros sitios haciendo otras cosas para establecer cómo ofrecer estos servicios mejor, cómo vamos a cambiar lo que hacemos para hacerlo más eficaz, que respuesta a las necesidades de los reos, y tienes que tener buena información para empezar. Así que el secretario hizo ese esfuerzo recientemente, tenemos mejor información, pero esto es un proceso y ha estado ocurriendo por años. Es bien distinto para descifrarlo, dónde es la realidad, dónde están las historias, los cuentos y dónde se puede hacer el progreso. We improved a little bit each year, of course, the budget in terms when we understand more, when we know where traditionally there have been things that have been put together or things that were difficult to understand, and we're improving. It is not a perfect exercise. We have to acknowledge where we make mistakes, and we say it, and we address them.
You have a follow-up question? Simplemente para asegurarme, porque había unas advertencias y las personas estaban escuchando y parecía que era un sentido de urgencia, de que no había mucho dinero para continuar. Eso no va a pasar, los servicios van a continuar. Eso se puede garantizar de alguna manera. Los servicios se van a continuar. No pienso que hay un problema. Simplemente vamos a unos trimestres, o sea, a unos cuantos años del año fiscal. Así que las personas están proyectando que no hay fondos suficientes. No estamos todavía ahí, estamos en noviembre, así que no deberíamos pensar de esa manera, en mi opinión. Esas son proyecciones de dónde esperan estar a fin de año. No estamos ahí. Así que hay 6 meses, 7 meses de tiempo para trabajar en cambiar la manera en que el dinero está siendo gastando y para lograr eso, economía. Nadie está clausurando servicios. Vamos a lidiar con eso. OEP y el Departamento de Corrección y el gobierno, pero no hay ninguno servicios se están cancelando. It is a pattern to try to pressure. Yeah. Well, as we saw it with the Department of Education, and we'll see it in other occasions as well. Oh, tomorrow we're not going to have money and we won't be able to attend such population. That's part of the process. I believe that you know about that more than us. So it's a matter of tomorrow the world is going to end.
Just as an example.
Y simplemente como un ejemplo, proyectaron 500 cadetes nuevos y simplemente pudieron contratar la mitad de ellos. Así que lo que están viendo como si hubieran 500, pero no pudieron contratar 500. Así que hay mucho detalle debajo de eso y no deberían exagerar el estado de la situación. About that topic, there are some mentions about a correctional health system that apparently is not fulfilling those services. That's today, not in 5 or 6 months, as they say. So topics of food that is really punctual. So inmates that don't have received the necessary food, that's today. That's not in 5 or 6 months. And also there are health issues, mental health issues that you're saying that the money will be available, but then a while ago you said that there is not a magic wand. So we need to have a clear position about the mental health issue and what you establish here, such as the committees that represent the inmates. And we know that there is a human component that sometimes can alter what is being described, but there are some clear situations today that are not of situations that have to wait 5 or 6 months. And I understand that in mental health, you assume an attitude that we need to take care of it, because my experience, I know the topic of the mental health. I know it well. I know the situation and the pains that the family members face and the topic itself, how hard it is. But what Gotay, I think, or I don't remember who, was saying, that was her experience about the person in charge of the medical insurance. They did not say that the situation is current, but we will find out what's going on. We'll investigate about the general standpoint to answer your questions that logically we need to take care of the mental health population and the general population in terms of general health, and that will be done. But my original comment is there is a budget and we need to take care of that in the budget, within the budget. We have to take care of everything in the agency right now? Well, that is one thing, that's why we're here. And that's why we are having this conversation. Again, if you close 5 or 6 jails, prisons, and the economy is 0, okay, so tell me, what have you done? Okay? Because you're not receiving any economy, any savings to precisely put it where it should really be, where we know where it should go to, which is essential. And that's management. That's not budgeting. That's management. Giovanni, in Nuevo Dia. Good afternoon. 2 particular questions. One, when did you receive the most amount of funds from the request from the Department of Correction, and what is the amount? And also, the agency is supposed to be presented an implementation strategy plan. I want to know if that plan, in effect, if the board received that plan, and how much of that plan or these strategies have been implemented, if any, in terms of savings. Can you repeat the same question in English, please? Claro. Primero, me estaba preguntando cuando el Departamento de Corrección pidió fondos adicionales, cuántos pidieron. Y lo segundo es, a mi entender, que el Departamento de Corrección se supone que radicara un plan de implementación para identificar el tráfico o las medidas que se han puesto en lugar para poder aumentar la operación y lograr esa economía. Y sí, quisiera saber si fue sometido ese plan y qué se ha hecho. Hemos un pedido de la agencia de salud, no de corrección, y lo recibimos al finales de noviembre. Vamos a terminar su revisión y si la fuente para esos fondos está disponible, lo revisaremos. En términos de implementación, el Departamento de Corrección sí ha provisto un plan de implementación, pero no se ha visto ninguna economía al implementar ese plan. Así que están diciendo lo que hemos descrito, que han cerrado las prisiones, pero no nos pueden decir, como hoy, que no nos pudieron decir cuánto fue la economía, si fue la renta, de cuánto específicamente. Así que no tenemos los detalles de lo que pudieron haber economizado en el equipo de administración. Ya no se necesitaba en esas prisiones. O sea, no los oficiales, sino la administración. Y como escucharon hoy, no pueden contestar las preguntas. Así que tenía un plan, sí. De hecho, debo reenfatizar que el plan, porque en este plan, cuando lo ven, el Departamento de Corrección se puso con el Departamento de Corrección y la FAF en mayo del 2018. Y fue un plan puesto con la agencia, que se hizo con la agencia Metro.
Thinking specifically about the numbers that they don't match, are you going to request more information from correction to see if you're going to reallocate funds? And as you mentioned that correctional health, OGP has to make another petition for this situation to the payment of suppliers, like for the food service.
Toda solicitud, every single question that they're...
Cada
Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Natalie.
First of all, with regard to
Primero, con respecto a salud correccional, no tiene que ser otra solicitud. Ya la hicieron y estamos revisándola. Y sí, estamos constantemente pidiendo más información, más datos, clarificaciones. Hoy es la primera vez que yo escuché que no había uniformes. Así que tengo que preguntarme después, ¿por qué no hay uniformes? ¿Cómo se están utilizando los dineros si no hay uniformes? El año pasado había dinero que no se gastó en el año fiscal, en gastos operacionales, que pudo haber comprado uniformes. ¿Por qué no lo compraron el uniforme el año pasado con el dinero que no gastaron? Cada vez que tenemos una vista, aprendemos más y más y más y hacemos más y más preguntas y tratamos la determinación de por qué determinó así, por qué ocurrió así, por qué no compraron los uniformes si necesitaban uniformes. No lo sé, pero fue lo que se me dijo, que necesitan uniformes. A question about another topic. WAPA, with respect to the governor, she stated that the relationship between the board and Fortaleza has improved once she became the governor. Now she has become a candidate. Can that affect that relationship? And I ask you, do you think that the signing of the bill 2330, which is a challenge to the federal government, which allows the cockfights, how do you see it? And if you consider it a challenge to the government, to the federal government? Let's start with the cockfights. We have no jurisdiction on that topic. And I'll just give you a personal, I could only give you a personal opinion. I'm not going to do it. So I'll answer the second question. The second question is with respect to the governor and been running for governor now. The communication, the governor is excellent. We talked very frequently. We communicate frequently. And I thank her. We have noticed recently slight change from her team, her consulting team, with respect to positions that they have assumed, with respect to conversations that I cannot communicate here publicly because the court does not allow it, with respect to the restructuring of the debt of Puerto Rico. You can reach your own conclusions if that change that was perceived has to do with what has happened recently. I hope that it's not the case, though, because we do wish to continue working with her to move Puerto Rico out of this bankruptcy. Following that line, you're referring to, and I believe, to the determination of the governor to restitute the leaves restitution or not? Because you answered that prospectively, if the money is not there, you're not going to approve it. How they're going to deal with that situation? And the president of the House of Representatives, Mr. Johnny Mendez, said in that conference when they restituted the leaves that they're going to review all the laws and measures that represented austerity against the rights of the employees that are going to try to restitute it. That, how courageous. And Mr. Elias, who is representative of the government, if they are here or they are a member, I don't have to excuse them. That will be the governor and himself. With respect to the other topics, we have already stated with respect to the leaves, the different leaves. Go ahead.
Basically, there's a process.
Hay un proceso en promesa. Una vez la ley se firma por la gobernadora, hay unos días para enviar la certificación para decir si creen que es consecuente o no es consecuente con el plan fiscal. Hay tiempo, no lo han sometido todavía. Lo que la ley establece sobre las licencias, y cuando sea vamos a ver el análisis y vamos a verlo. No hemos tomado una decisión todavía. De OGP dijeron que el dinero estaba ahí, que era neutral, que no iba a tener impacto. La gobernadora presentó una certificación que no tendría impacto para una, pero no para la segunda. Hay una segunda y no la hemos recibido todavía. Esa es la perspectiva para el próximo año, no para otra ley que tiene que ver con vacaciones. Hay dos leyes que aprobaron. Eva Llorens, muchas gracias. En inglés o en español la pregunta. Quería preguntar sobre energía eléctrica. La vista se dio que se atrasó el proceso y la negociación no tiene apoyo en la legislatura. Ha habido conversaciones sobre permitir a los legisladores de eximir a la gente pobre de tener que pagar los cargos de transición como parte, una vez aprueben la legislación para implantar el RCA. Quiero saber qué es lo que ustedes piensan sobre eso y si ustedes han tenido conversaciones con los legisladores sobre lo que ustedes quisieran ver en la legislatura con respecto al RSA. El gobierno ya ha hablado, ellos están hablando, nosotros estamos hablando directamente con ellos. La legislatura va a considerar eximir a los clientes pobres. ¿Ustedes concuerdan con eso? Yo creo que es parte del acuerdo desde el principio. Y la preocupación colectiva de no continuar con la RCA, la negociación, es un potencial de que se imponga un monitor a la autoridad, a energía eléctrica.
Pero En estas exenciones para las personas con bajo salario, otras personas van a tener que pagar un poco más, presumo. Y eso probablemente no va a ser, no, eso no es lo que está pasando. De hecho, la deuda, el cargo de transición está estructurado para que eso no ocurra. Si hay menos personas usando electricidad en la isla, no quiere decir que el cargo de transición para los que continúan a utilizarla va a aumentar. No se está masticando esta cantidad. O sea, sí va a continuar un poco, pero la persona utilizando electricidad no va a pagar más porque otra persona no. Ya sea porque se ha ido de la isla o porque está exenta o porque puso paneles solares y ya no está conectada al sistema. No importa la razón, si la demanda baja, pues no se traduce a costos incrementados a las personas que lo están usando hoy. The last question. You mentioned that the governor apparently has had a change in some agreements with you. This is an electoral year and she manifests herself as a candidate. And that's not what I said. And what did you say? I said that it was a perception of some of our staff that there was a change in the position of the council advisors. The governor has not talked to me about any of this, but there was a change that she manifested publicly. What would you expect now that she's a candidate, understanding that she announced herself by the president of the chamber that those laws will be revised because of the employees? Okay, what I expect from the electoral campaign. I wish. I'm not going to enter into politics. We're not focused in what candidate can or cannot say. I do respect her a lot, the governor, as well as the other elected officials. We have to work with them. And the reality is that I don't know how to answer your question because my relationship with her is, thank God, that it's really good, and I would like to keep it like that. I hope that we can work together to take Puerto Rico out of the bankruptcy. Thank you very much. Johannes has one last question, Edward. I didn't see her, sorry. It has determined that in definitive, the board has the last word in terms of budgeting, but how much do we receive and do we spend? I would like you to give me that amount, but specifically the question is double. One is having the account that was established in the opinion that you have the faculty to implement recommendations that the government can reject. What will you do with the different measures that you have suggested, either by the labor or the organization with the financial board, etc. And I also ask myself, what are you going to do with Act 29 and the resolutions that have been questioned upon, because it says, we can see that it serves as a reference for the disputes that are the current disputes, and so that can be a reference for the reassignment of funds. We expect to prevail. We have manifested it in multiple manifestation, and the reason for which we are carrying out this topic is because there is a really important principle that if we incur in charges in favor of the employees, you have the obligation to comply with those and with their retirement. And it's like that in the private sector, and it should be like that as well in municipalities, and so they should pay. That is the reason for why we are carrying out that case, among other reasons. And in terms of your first question, the law provides us multiple tools about things that we could do. So we consider the things, and we use extreme caution to make sure that what is being done is correct and necessary. And I don't think that you're going to see a lot of movement in that sense to try to impose such manners unless, of course, really we don't have any other choice. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Happy holiday. Thank you. Happy holiday.